It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Hydration is when you have enough water content in your body, then you're hydrated. And what is dehydration? Dehydration is the opposite of hydration. That's lack of water. And a lot of people are suffering from dehydration. Why are they suffering from dehydration? A lot of people find it difficult to drink water. It's healthy for you to get up in the morning and drink water, a glass of water. Cleanses your system. It makes you start on a good mood. It's is when you take enough water, your skin equally glows. You know, your mood is well balanced. You're not feeling tired, because when you are dehydrated, you tend to feel tired. You tend to feel sick because your body is toxic. You understand? So your body is toxic, and things that are not supposed to be in your body are being retained in your body instead of it being flushed out. When you are properly hydrated, then you will pee, you go to the toilet, you urinate, you sweat well, which is very, very healthy. In doing that, the excess things you do not require, the toxins you do not require are passed out from the body. So it makes you healthy. Watermelon is good. Watermelon has a lot of water. Pineapple is good. You know, you can take this fruit like cucumber. If you okay, let me just give you these little tips. You can do your mix your cucumber, blend your cucumber with watermelon, blend it with a bit of beetroot, add a bit of ginger to it. It will keep you very, very energized. It will keep you alert when you have your then add apple to it, because definitely apple is going to sweeten it up, but not too much. So you can add apple to it, but it's going to keep you energized for the day. Then another combination, like I said, is an addition to another combination that can give you enough energy for the day. You can have your kale, you can have a bit of pineapple, you can have a bit of, so when I say a bit, it is now for you to come to us and ask us what the bit is. But so you have your banana, you have your kale, you have your pineapple, you can add a bit of chai seed to it. Blend is energy giving. Kale on its own is powerful. Is a power bank of veggies. Then banana is another. So you have your banana there, you have your pineapple, you have your kale, you have your chai seed. If you want, you can add a bit of ginger to it, depending on. But you're beautiful with that. Then you water, you're fine. Well, we need to have fruit in our life, because we don't want to go to the hospital. They help fight they help combat diseases in the body. So you derive vitamins from fruits. Your body absorbs your food properly when you eat well, when you take in fruits. Your body metabolizes the food you eat. You're not constipated while you eat. Your body metabolizes your food properly when you take enough fruit. You have a very glowing skin when you take fruits. You have vitamins, it helps aging. Some of us that are tending towards and we don't want to look old, take enough fruits. You'll be fine. Your face, your skin, everything will glow. You have to find out what that child likes. All children are not the same, so you need to know what that child likes. When you find out what the child likes, then you start mixing fruit together. Most children, not all of them anyway, they have sweet tooth. So it could be a combination of banana with some other things, But the first thing is to find out what the child likes. When you get what the child likes, then day in, day out, you introduce it into their meals. You can make it into smoothies. You can make it into juice for them because it's easier to take. When you make juices or you make smoothies, it's easier for them to take a whole lot of nutrients into their body within a short time. So I would talk from experience. If I want to, cucumber for example, not everybody likes cucumber because cucumber is tasteless. But for you to enjoy cucumber has high water content and is really good for the body. But for you to enjoy cucumber, you can combine your cucumber with other fruits that you love to eat. Take for example, some people like pineapple, some people like apple. Combine it with the fruit you enjoy, then you can make it into probably juice. You can juice it, you can make smoothies of it. You can make your salad interesting. When I say interesting, make your veggies, add some fruit to it. Add your chicken and all that, then add some fruit to it. Most fruit gives your normal vitamins. So I'm going to start with apple. Apple will help you with your digestion. The beetroot will help you with metabolism. Citrus fruits, lemon for example, cleanses your system.
The aftermath of the APC primaries leaves one question unanswered. What is next for the former ministers? And many killed, houses razed as communal crisis breaks out in Kogi State. Well, this is Plus Politics. I am Mary Anna Cole. Four ministers have become politically stranded, if you'd ask me, after their defeat in the presidential primaries of the All Progressive Congress, APC, which was held in Abuja. Now, former governor of Lagos State, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, eventually won that primary by taking about 60% of the votes and will be flying the flag of the APC in the February 25th, 2023 presidential elections. The ministers who were forced to resign last month after obtaining forms were Emeka Mwajuba, Minister of State for Education; Godswill Akpabio, Niger Delta Affairs Minister; Ogbonnaya Onu, Science and Technology Minister; and Rotimi Amechi, Transportation Minister. And the big question tonight is, what is next for these gentlemen? Well, joining us to discuss this is journalist Carl Chinedu and the legal practitioner Deji Awobiyide. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. I'll start with you, Deji. Now, all four of these men who were seemingly forced to resign, and some resigned of their own free will, even before the imbroglio of whether they should stay or not. Many people had wondered if it was even a good move in the first instance, looking at their political pedigree. I mean, I'm talking about all of these men that I've mentioned, aside from maybe the transportation minister and this science and technology minister. Let's start from there. How great an idea was it for these men to leave their jobs in pursuit of this presidential bid?
Well, thank you, Marianne, for the question. You recall that a few weeks back you had me on your program, and I did wonder why these ministers were running, unless they had some form of assurance from the president or from somebody higher saying that they had the confidence of the party to secure the ticket. But now that the primaries have come and gone, where it looks very clear to everybody who can see that it was a very ill-advised decision. Only the Minister of Transport was able to muster some votes, came second in the primaries. The others, basically, Nwajuba did not show up. He boycotted the convention. The Minister Onu went on a rant at the convention, did not secure any votes. Godswill Akpabio, maybe the wisest of them all, was able to quickly pitch his tent with the eventual party's flag bearer. So I don't know, maybe it was some form of importance that they attached to themselves, but clearly they did not have the political capital or the political muscle to get the party's ticket. So it was a very ill-advised decision. And I just hope that for their sake, that the money that they spent on the party's fund would somehow, some way, either be refunded to them or be given back to them at a reduced price.
A compensation of sorts. Well, let me come to you, Carl. Carl, can you hear me? Let's look at the second runner-up, which is the former governor of River State and, of course, the current, former now, Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, who also was one of the presidential aspirants on the platform of the APC. Let's start by looking at his performance, not just as minister, but let's take a look back at him being governor. Could this have also played a role in his surety of wanting to run for this office and even taking that leap of leaving his current job?
Well, I think that the ministers that are in charge of their office were really done as because I mean,
Carl, it's difficult for us to hear you. I don't know if you're using an earpiece. Please do. You can get rid of it so that we can hear you clearly. It's very difficult for us to make out what you're saying. Okay, let's try again.
So I was saying that those that the ministers that left out of the primary, it was basically a donor because in between all the primaries there was three positions for our system, the appointed elected, who know their and there is a lot of them.
I'm so sorry, Carl. I'm so sorry. It's very difficult for us to hear you. We're going to try to get you on another line so that we can clearly hear what you have to say. That would make the conversation flow better. So I'm going to come back to you, Deji. Same question. Let's look at Chibuike Amechi's career and the trajectory. A man who became a speaker in the legislature in his state, moved from there to become a governor of his state. I mean, he's had some form of a steady trajectory, which he also presented on the day of the presidential primaries, making a case, in fact, that he had also been governor, two-time governor, a two-time DG for Mr. President. He seemed to have had so much confidence. But now that he's no longer the minister, no longer governor, he does not hold any office. And then, of course, let's look at what's happening in the APC in his state. Where does he fall in right now?
Well, I think that the former Minister for Transport, Right Honorable Chibuike Amechi, has the credit below doubt to seek the highest office in the land. I mean, having such a very robust resume as he possesses, nobody can vilify him for aspiring to greater office. However, as you know, when it comes to internal affairs of a political party, those decisions as to who becomes the party's flag bearer at the primaries is left for the party to decide. And in this case, the APC opted to go through the delegate system, and the person who had the most support from the delegates eventually won, although he came a very distant second to Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. Now, having said that, right now the minister is, I wouldn't say he's an orphan, but without a political office. This is somebody who has held political office since 1999, was speaker for 8 years, was governor for 8 years, was minister after he left his office as governor. So he's been in the limelight for several years. So this is perhaps a shock to him that is nowhere in terms of national politics directly as he used to be. He's no longer a front runner, does not have a seat at the table based on a political office for now. But I reckon that his journey in the wilderness will not be for too long, because if things go the way the party has planned, and if things go the way other people have canvassed, that he'll be allowed to come back to his office as Minister for Transport to complete all the projects. You heard Shehu Sani say in the past week that he should be allowed to complete all his ongoing projects. This is one minister who we can say has really done well under the Buhari administration, although the stain on the CV is the Kaduna
the train attack.
That happened. That's the stain on the CV. But aside from that, if you've been to the international airport in Abuja, if you've seen other rail projects that are being completed, you will see that he's done a lot. He's done a lot, but he's one of the shining lights of the Buhari administration. Okay. But as it relates to his political position now, he might need to do some realignment. And you saw that the Asiwaju visited his house a few days back. So I think that some reorganization and realignment will occur to see what the future portends for the former Minister for Transport.
Carl, I think now we have you on a clearer line, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on the former transportation minister. Carl, can you hear me?
Yeah, barely. I can barely hear you.
Well, go ahead. Let's hear your thoughts on the political future of Rotimi Amechi.
Okay. So I was saying that for most of the ministers that resigned their appointments to contest the APC primaries, I was saying it was simply pure opportunism, because most of them were counting on the fact that either they would be anointed, or because of the clamor and agitation that the governorship should come to the ideal political zone. Stay with me.
Carl, are you still there?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wow. But, so it was simply, the issue of competence was not there, even though most of them have served in various capacities and never really had much to show for it. But the big question Nigerians should be asking remains this. Most of these guys have been in and out of governance for the past 24 years. In the specific instance of Obonayonu, who has been in governance from the military era up till now, I mean, they ought to have a second address, as people will always say. Politics is not their main occupation. They should also give way for others to also come and bring in their competence and also move the country forward. So I don't think that there should be any big deal about what they should do next. They should also go with life.
Again, I mean, you can't really say that. I mean, again, it's your personal opinion to say that, you know, these people should take a seat for others to, you know, have a fair chance to play in the ring. But then there are people who would tell you that this is something that they do. This is the fact. This is their capital in terms of politics, being continuously in the mix. Because, I mean, I think Deji made a very interesting point. The man who was the first to resign and say he had a political ambition did not show up at the Eagle Square to even make a case for that ticket in the first instance. And I'm talking about the Minister of State for, I think, Science and Technology, if I'm not mistaken. And he didn't show up. So people would ask, of course, even if he knows how to do his job, Mwajuba, even if he doesn't know how to do his job, or rather if he did his job really well, what about what happens to him in the future in terms of politics? And I asked Deji another question. For a minister, Amechi, whose APC in River State is divided, has been unable to have any proper elections or primaries or congresses because there are two factions in that party. And then, of course, at the national level, whether he has been, you know, in meetings or in talks with the flag bearer of the party, that is on one hand. But what is the political future of Rotimi Amechi? Will he be able to say in the future that I am, you know, the father of the APC, or I am the leader of the APC in River State? These are the people that I'm grooming. Because it's one thing to say, step aside. Who are the people that these people have fathered that they can say, okay, well, I'll step aside and let you run? Carl?
Yeah, I'm with you. If we want to talk about, see, the problem most of these guys had at the APC primaries was that they really got to discover that they were the superstars the way they saw themselves. Because, like in the instant case of the former governor of Rivers, Rotimi Amechi, who was speaker for 8 years, governor for 8 years, leader of APC in Rivers. But the surprising thing and the irony remains that in the past two elections, APC has not been able to field candidates in Rivers State. As we speak now, APC is still a march in crisis in Rivers State. So that will also put a question mark on his leadership and managerial abilities.
Okay.
In the case, and in the case of people like Mwajoba and the rest of them, I still maintain that these are people that just came out for the election because they believe that, because the clamor that should come to the southeast, perhaps I'm the best position to take it. None of them came to that contest on their own steam, and that was why they collapsed so abysmally in the primaries.
Let me come back to you, Deji. Let's talk about Godswill Akpabio, who also seems to be having the same situation in Akwa Ibom State as Rotimi Amechi, where there seems to be some uncertainty for his party and if they would be able to even participate in the elections, being that there are cases that are in court right now. Akpabio, for some, would be a governor who was very articulate, someone who was able to do certain things and put Akwa Ibom State on the map. Some people might say different. But he's also a very good orator. You know, he speaks very well. He's able to, you know, get people to join his team. Say fame would, one way or the other, get them the ticket. But for an Akpabio now, who's also almost on the same boat with former Minister Rotimi Amechi, do you see him playing his way back into the game as compared to Rotimi Amechi?
Well, I think as it relates to Governor Godswill Akpabio, he was the first person to declare his support for the eventual flag bearer of the party. And that move was a very strategic move. Perhaps he saw the handwriting on the wall that he would not be able to get the party's nomination. But having played that hand, of course, it also means that if should APC go ahead and win the general elections, it would be in good stead to at least lay some claim to the party's victory. Having set the ball rolling for the various governors and other aspirants who threw their weight behind Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. So for Akpabio, I think, well, while on the national stage, he may not have an office as minister, he's still very much relevant in the South-South. And ditto for Right Honorable Chikoke Amechi. They both are very relevant politicians in their respective states. For Minister Amechi, the problem that he has is that he has a very formidable opposition in Governor Nyesom Wike. Governor Wike has proven twice that he's not a pushover. And don't forget also that Governor Amechi is always quick to remind you that Governor Wike was his mentee, so to speak. So, of course, it's a case where every tactic that the minister has in his arsenal, Wike has almost twice of that. So that, and he also has the power of incumbency going for him. So that's why I think he's been handicapped in Rivers. But Governor Akpabio has not been so handicapped in Akwa Ibom. He's still a very, very prominent politician in Akwa Ibom State. However, you will understand that when it comes to politics, there are a lot of interests at play, and those interests are at play in Akwa Ibom, and that's why you have several court cases. Even though at the convention he declared that 93 delegates of Akwa Ibom would vote for Asiwaju Tinubu, but unfortunately, because of the court injunction that was served at the convention, they could not really add their votes to the tally of the APC flag bearer. So, but it just tells that he commands the loyalty of his people, and is still very much relevant in national politics. Unfortunately, he may have to go back home, because a lot of the times when these politicians go to national stage, they forget that they need to also have that grassroots support. And I think that is what is lacking in both the case of Governor Akpabio and Governor Amechi. But for Governor Amechi, I still insist that he has a very formidable opposition who has the power of incumbency going for him. I do not see that if Governor Wike leaves office in 2023, I think that he will have a more level playing field to be able to expand his political ideals in Rivers State.
Okay, Carl, you are in Rivers State. I just want to point to both gentlemen. Notice that these ministers who stepped down in pursuit of their presidential bid were from the South. I'm talking about Ogbonnaya, Mwajuba, Akpabio, and Rotimi Amechi. Now, last week, a Rivers politician, Tonye Princewill, did speak about Tinubu's win as a lesson to the South. And not just the South, he talked about the Southeast, he talked about the South-South and the Middle Belt, saying that there are lots of lessons we need to learn from the politicking of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do you agree with Tonye Cole that there's a lot that the South needs to learn from Tinubu's politicking?
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. I quite agree with that position. Because what played out in the APC primaries was the fact that
Carl, are you there? I think that we lost Carl again. Carl, are you there? Can you hear me? I think we lost that connection, unfortunately. The connection on his end is really bad. Back to you, Deji. So, Deji, just as I said, there's a lot to look at. There's a lot to learn from what has transpired. Again, like I said, these four gentlemen are from the South, the Southeast, and of course, the South. And we see that some people would say they've lost out. They shot themselves in the foot. Some people would say, well, it was strategic. Some who have, declared allegiance for the flag bearer, some of them would say they're winning. But what Toye Cole said about the fact that there's a lot more that we need to learn in terms of alliances and political pragmatism, do you share the same sentiment?
Well, absolutely. I think what is said is very apt in the circumstance, because what you would see is that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is a politician who has been on the scene for well over 30 years. He has several mentees, several political godsons and goddaughters that he can point to, many of whom he has elevated to the limelight, who have played very prominent role in our national development. So, and he's a man who has built bridges across the Niger, far north. He has his backing there, he has his followership there. Even the title, Jagaban, is a title that he got from the north. Jagaban Bogu is from the north. So that tells you that he's a very diverse politician who is also very, very calculative in his approach, very pragmatic politician. And as when it all seemed as though he was not going to get a ticket, I mean, if you follow social media, you will see that on Twitter, a lot of people were just saying his ambition was dead on arrival. They played up the chances of the vice president, and other people's chances have been anointed by the president. And nobody really saw Asiwaju getting the ticket eventually. As a matter of fact, a lot of people were waiting for the convention so that they can be put to shame. But eventually, it turned out to be the reverse. It turned out to be the eventual flag bearer. Despite the concerns about his health, he was still able to pull off the great escape. And I think that his rant at Abeokuta perhaps will be the most historic rant in the history of Nigeria, because that rant eventually, I think, forced the hand of so many people. And eventually, you saw that he got an overwhelming support from delegates. Well, you may say that those delegates were financially inspired to cast their votes for him. But all the other aspirants also had the same level playing field. They could have also gone ahead to do what needed to be done to secure the ticket. Like I said, those of them who were...
Deji, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just curious. When you say they had the same level playing field, did they stand a chance against the Tinubu? When you say they could do what he did, what exactly did he do that they could have done?
So what I mean is, if you pick up a form to run for the office of the president, that's the highest office in the land, you must believe in your chances. You must believe that you have the same clout, the same persona, the same charisma, the same pockets to be able to win the nomination. So it would be foolhardy to pick up a form knowing that you had no chance. I wouldn't say that Governor Amechi did not feel as if he had a chance. I'm sure he felt that he had a good chance of picking the party's nomination. Ditto for the vice president. They must have believed that they stood a chance, or they must have believed that the delegates were people of conscience, like Pastor Sude Bakari said. He said he sent out bulk SMS to all the delegates. I mean, he believed in the ability of delegates to see beyond financial motives and vote for him based on his passion for the country. And I believe that even all the other aspirants too would also say the same, that they are very passionate about the country, and that they will, if given the chance, they will take the country to greater heights. So if you pick up a form to run for office, then you must really believe in your chances. Otherwise, it was a foolish thing to do. But those of them who felt that, they could no longer, haven't seen the writing on the wall, could not wrestle the ticket from the Jagaban, they decided to step down their ambitions. Governor Fayemi of Ekiti State, that's my state, he did mention that he has a young man has a long way to go. And you also had the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Demeji Bankole, saying also that he's also a young man and going to prostrate from the Jagaban. So a lot of people, a lot of them looked at their current state and the future and aligned and realigned their positions. Okay. Some of them needed to step down, like Pastor Bakare got 0 votes. He did not step down. Gonayan I think got 0 votes or 1 vote. I'm not very certain now. But he also went on a rant, on national rant, as to justice and conscience and all of those things. But politics is politics. And Nigerian politics is a special kind of politics that requires you to not only have deep pockets, it also requires you to have friends across every geographical zone of the country.
Okay, finally, I hope that, Carl, you can hear me. Just to wrap this up, Deji has said that, a lot of them had level playing field, even though Ogbonayanu had come out to say he felt that there was no justice in terms of power being ceded to the South or the Southeast. But do you see any mass movement out of the APC, or do you think that there has been some calm within the party and that maybe wounds have been patched and people are holding hands and kumbayaing their way to 2023? Carl, can you hear me? Unfortunately, Carl cannot hear us. Well, I want to say thank you, Deji, for being part of the conversation. Deji Awobiyide is a legal practitioner, and of course, Carl Chinedu is a journalist. And thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And on that note, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking with the information minister in Kogi State. There have been several clashes within the state, which has also led to the loss of lives and property. We'll be talking about it after this break.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on Plus TV Africa, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
In recent weeks, the level of insecurity in Kogi State has been alarming. On the 5th of June, many people were feared dead and several houses razed during a renewed Basa Igbura crisis in Basa local government area of the state. Well, joining us to shed more light on this is the Honourable Commissioner for Information in Kogi State, Mr. Kingsley Fowler. Thank you so much, Mr. Fowler, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, and good evening, viewers around the world.
Great. I'm super interested in the way that these attacks keep happening. In October of 2021, 6 persons reportedly died in a communal clash. This was reported by police. Sometime again in 2022, earlier this year, there was another clash. And then a few days ago, there's another clash. Help us walk us through what exactly is the cause or is behind these communal clashes?
Thank you very much. We are not comfortable with the insecurity brewing in Basa local government area. It is one of the 21 local government councils in Kogi State. So we cannot be talking of an alarming rate of insecurity in the state. We also read a lot of reports concerning the attacks and the violence there. We can report authoritatively that since it broke out, we have less than 10 people that we've lost. That's a very high figure because every single soul is precious to the government of Kogi State. What's actually happened in Basa has been an age-long hostility between 2 main tribes that constitute that local government. You have the Basa Kum and you have the Ibera Mozu. These 2 groups have been at loggerheads for years, for hundreds of years. And in the last 16 years, the thing has escalated to a very high level. And, in 2016, November, we had a very serious crisis that the state government had to step in to be able to resolve. A lot of things have led to these hostilities, including land disputes between the 2 ethnic groups. And also, it also had to do with dispute on fish ponds by the 2 major ethnic groups. And also, you discover that these 2 ethnic groups are in Nasarawa State. So whenever there is crisis between the 2 ethnic groups in Nasarawa State, it will spill to Kogi State. So a lot of this has resulted into a lot of hostilities. Some are political, some are even instigated by some traditional rulers in those places. So we're having a very holistic approach at the moment to ensure that anyone who is found wanting is severely dealt with. As we speak, the royal fathers of the 2 ethnic groups are giving very useful information to the police because as far as we are concerned, no matter whose ox is God, we have to attack the issue with bloody-mindedness to ensure that the lives of our people are safe.
I'm made to understand that there are some elders and community leaders that have been arrested in connection to all of these ethnic clashes. I'm asking because if these are ethnic or, like you said, some of them are from Nasarawa, there has to be some form of communication. Let's say a group from the state in Kogi goes to Nasarawa State to have some conversation. I'm wondering, does Kogi State have a peace or reconciliation or any committee to address the issue? Because you talked about it being an age-long issue and it has lingered for this long and now people are having to die for it. What has the government done to address these issues, no matter how, pedestrian it might be?
We are working on a holistic mechanism. And I would tell you that since this administration came on board, we've been able to a very large extent stem the tide of the crisis rocking that local government. And also, you would, the current issue has unraveled a lot of revelations, and the state government is setting up mechanism to be able to attack it from the root. I am not saying that 100% it is caused by some of these clashes in Nasarawa spilling over to Kogi State. We are attacking the ones that we can attack in the state, and we're also setting up mechanism to be able to have this conversation across borders that will be able to, enlighten the people in Nasarawa State, the Basa people in Nasarawa State, of how their hostilities are already spilling to Kogi State. Kogi is known to be a very peaceful state under this administration, as you can all attest to, as the governor has won so many awards in ensuring peace and stability. And what we are dealing with at the moment is not about insurgency or terrorism. It's about communal clashes, and the state government is working on a lot of mechanisms to be able to put this to bed. As you are aware, you are not going to serve peace a la carte. It's not going to work that way. The state government will have to work. The state government is doing that already, putting in place mechanism, putting in place apparatus to ensure that we are able to put this to bed and ensure that our people in Bassa are safe.
Talking about land, because land is very important. The government is in charge of the land, even though it belongs to citizens. If one of these issues is an issue of land, that's where the government should come in first, right? And help us to understand which, I mean, in Nigeria, we understand that these clashes happen, especially because of land. It happens in Cross River, between Cross River and Akwa Ibom, the two people, and you know the people in Odupani, they have those issues. But then that's where the government should come in to determine where these boundaries are. That is one way to deal with the issue. And then again, you have to go to the grassroots to, you know, like I said, get to the core. I find it difficult when governments tell us that, oh, it's this man from this place that came in here to cause trouble. How secure, shouldn't your people in your state be safe and secure, so much so that an outsider cannot come and disrupt the peace that you have in the land? I remember your principal had been campaigning for presidency, and part of the things that he was campaigning with was that he has successfully brought peace and security to the people of Kogi State. I'm beginning to doubt that if an issue as, let me not, you know, make it seem as simple, but an issue as big as communal crisis and somebody coming in from another state to cause trouble in your state has not been handled for this long, and now it's claimed at least 10 lives. Should we still be discussing that now, especially at the close, almost at the close of his administration?
I think we need to set the record. We are not talking about 10 lives. We are saying less than 10 lives because we are putting the figures together. And also, I've just confirmed to you that the state government has set up a team that is working very closely with Nasarawa state government to ensure that we get to the roots of the matter from there.
How long has this team been on for? How long?
Just like, let me land on this thought. We are dealing with a lot of factors on this matter. It is just one of the factors. We're talking about the issue of land dispute. We are talking about issues that has to do with fish ponds. We are talking about issues as simple, as trivial, as even culture, masquerades, and all of that. You know, it has to do with the stakeholders in those communities. And that is why the state government ensured they came in very strongly to bring out these stakeholders to come and answer questions with law enforcement agencies. We have also been able to put the whole thing in calm as we talk, because we are able to mobilize the security architecture, the entire security architecture and might of the security agencies in the state of the place. Armored personnel carriers are there as we speak, and we have been able to stem the tide. The crisis has gone down significantly, but we are digging to the root because we don't want to solve it now and tomorrow to come up again. So as a very responsible administration that has won so many awards in security, we don't want this to tarnish our credentials as far as security of lives and property is concerned. And that's why we are zeroing in to ensure that everybody and anybody that has been involved in the crisis is brought to justice. Many of them have been arrested. We have been able to recover a lot of arms, and the people are confident today that their government, the government they elected, has stepped in to do its primary responsibility. We are not seeking for commendation for this. The governor stepped in. I remember that a few days ago, till 2 a.m., he was still in touch with the state security advisor and all the security heads in the state to ensure that the place is peaceful. And as I'm talking to you now, it is significantly very peaceful. And and you also need to understand that it's a very difficult terrain because you have to cross the river from Lokoja to get to Bassa. but the people from Nasarawa can easily, infiltrate. And that's what we are working on with our border security agencies to ensure that we don't allow them to get into the state to foment trouble.
Going forward, just as you've said, very interesting. You have said that the government is working, tirelessly to make sure that this is put to bed. But then again, let's look at some of the things that are at the core of issues like this. It could be poverty, it could be, ignorance. And then you have said there are some things that are as funny as, culture or masquerades, which I don't think should be an issue. But what is the level of awareness or, because everybody does not have to have formal education, but is there some form of grassroots awareness program that would help the people understand that they're all together, they're one people, and killing one another for land that nobody's going to go to their graves with should not be a thing that divides them? Because of course we already as a country are divided across ethnic and religious lines. Is there anything that that is being done at the grassroots, whether in collaboration with local governments or even community heads?
Thank you very much. The strength of our security in the state is not just because of the arm-bearing security agents. It's beyond that. The strength of our security accomplishments as a government has to do with intelligence, has to do with enlightenment, has to do with the partnership between the government and the people of the state. And that has been working well for the people of the state. We have lines that even people in the villages can quickly call for them to have the intervention of security agents. And that has been working very seriously for us. If you go to the smallest village in Kogi State as a visitor today, immediately you will see that they will report your entrance to that village to the community head. You will be screened and they will be able to find out the kind of person you are and your mission in that community. All these things have been working well. Apart from that, my ministry in the past few months had gone around the state doing a lot of sensitization and orientation. We call it the town hall meetings. We have gone around the nine federal constituencies in the state to sit down with the stakeholders, the local government administrators, traditional rulers, youth groups, women groups, and all of that, to tell them the partnership that the Yahaya Bello administration has brought to be. Because you need to carry them along in the security architecture of the state, and that's working very well. As when you are talking about poverty, Basa people are some of the most resourceful people in Nigeria. With the river, with the water bodies around them, they are people that are economically viable, and they are great farmers, they are great hunters, they are great fishermen and women. And that has been able to boost the economy to a very large extent. I think it has to do with the age-long hostility between the two major ethnic groups. And as far as the state government is concerned, the traditional rulers in those places have not done enough to ensure unity and peace. And that's why you got that report that the two frontline traditional rulers were brought to Lokoja, and the security agents were able to probe into the activities. And we have a lot of information. Anybody that is involved in that will definitely be brought to book. The Office of the State Security Advisor has been doing a lot of work on this to ensure that the people are sensitized, to ensure that the people are safe, to ensure that those who have broken the law do not go scot-free. That is what we are doing to sound a very strong warning to perpetrators of evil, not only in Basa, but across the state, that when you do it in Kogi State, you will not go scot-free.
The Honorable Commissioner for Information in Kogi State, thank you so much for speaking with us. We'll keep our eyes on that story and hopefully something good comes out of it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. That's our show for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow talking for development. And my name is Mary Anako, and have a good evening.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
My name is Sonya Onoyoade. I reminisce my good old days with an uncommon nostalgia. For me, my days of yore were lived fully from humble beginning. Born in Bere and raised in Inolende, Ibadan, the commonality of our abode made it possible for everybody to know everybody else. So, communal parenting was prevalent, evoking the sentiment of the age-old adage that it takes a village to raise a child. So, bad behaviors could be punished by communal stakeholders other than the parents, such as neighbors, aunts, uncles, and sisters, all taking responsibility for the life and welfare of the children in the community. My parents hail from Modakeke, but raised all their children in Ibadan. My early beginning revolved around Inolende, where I spent my infancy, and which harbored Ebenezer Primary School that I attended. It was a life of school and football, kite flying and sand dunes molded from a foot stuck into the sandy ground. Okoto was a plaything, just like Agbalumo seed. My primary school lay parallel to Igboa Gala, which housed the iconic colonial-era Bowers Tower, a high-rise rotunda with spiral tiers set on a hill and which played host to visitors and tourists and could be seen from every nook of the ancient city. A saying dedicated to this tower against those not conversant with the complexity of the city is Ibadolomo or Molayipo, meaning that you only know Ibadan but not the Bowers Tower, which locals called Layipo due to its rotunda nature and because you have to climb up its zenith in a spiral stairs. Inolende was communal by every sense of it. Every naming ceremony or traditional wedding, freedom from apprenticeship or sundry events did not require formal invites. Such events were for the community and children were expected to attend, huddled together in a choreographed manner around large bowls of rice as a couple of gazing sheep and bleating goats waited in the wing to pounce on leftovers. Muslim and Christian festivals were actively celebrated by all irrespective of religious lineage. Ramadan was a time we looked forward to as children of Christian faith because we would wake up to eat Sahari, and some evenings were filled with itinerant musicians who played were, a Fuji genre with Islamic lyrical underpinnings. Sikiru Ayinde, later called Barrister, was a regular team lead in the locality in those days. Will I forget the good old days of Egungun festivals when we followed Ololu or Alakpanshopa or Atikpako, all dreaded masquerades from Inolende to Bere and Makbo, sucking in their superlative acrobatic displays and guttural incantations. Young folks, especially those from humble background like me, found the serendipity of Ibadan around the 70s and the 80s. Odo Dandaru, a stream on the fringe of Mokola, was our swimming bay, and the elevator of Kingsway in Dugbe was our playground. Except for Cocoa House and a couple of high-rise buildings, the skyline was not dotted with skyscrapers, yet the serenity of Ibadan was profound and the security unimpeachable. Family values were strong in my good old days. During school holidays, we would follow our father to his farm in Idiya, a village settlement in the outskirts of Ibadan. Farms were not an attractive sector to kidnappers or armed robbers then. It was fun in the farm, making small fires to roast corn or yam or rabbit caught by midnight traps. In the twilights of the day, while going back to the village from the farm or sitting around the fireplace in the village hut, Father would regale us with stories of life, wisdom nuggets and politics of yore. It was in one such sitting I knew the plant called Akintola Taku, so named because of the political crisis of the 60s. At other times, we followed Mother to Dugbe Market, where she traded in stockfish. I went to Ibadan Polytechnic, Ogun State Polytechnic, and the University of Ibadan. And in my trajectory, educational value was in the quality. Handphones and other modern gadgets of pleasure were few, so there were less distractions. There was nobility of character among students and lecturers. Cultism, sex for marks, student prostitution, and absenteeism were only hush words, unlike now that those vices are threatening the survival of the academia. Our children need to know how we roll back in the days and begin to invent a more quality life. They deserve better today and brighter future, so that they can also have their own good old days in the fullness of time. I believe we need collective efforts to ensure that we make the difference in the lives of our youth now for a better tomorrow. That is why I am joining Sir Shemore Badijo in this patriotic drive. How about you? Won't you rather join us? Thank you.
Politicizing our humanity. You see, Nigeria today has become a den of unknown gunmen. And I say that because for every new report you see now, any news, anything, you see unknown gunmen kills 20, unknown gunmen kidnaps 50. So any small thing is unknown gunmen. And the level of insecurity in the country today has risen. You know, so today we no longer ask whether our lives are, and properties are secured. We only ask who is next to be killed or kidnapped. You know, we check and we see, okay, whose family is next? Which family is going to be thrown into mourning? So right now, Nigerians are only waiting, and we're waiting and saying, whose turn is it going to be? The level of insecurity in the country has become extremely worrisome. The lapses created by government, by the inaction of government. You know, government had the opportunity to nip this insecurity in the bud. You know, when it started. You know, it started like play. It wasn't this bad. It wasn't this bad. But now, because of government's inaction, we are caught up, and it seems as if there's nothing that we can do about it again. So now it is even worse. It is worse that we as citizens are not making enough noise about the right things. We are concerned about some other things. So despite the worrisome state of our dear nation, the plague of politicizing any little thing, you know, we are quick to say, now this party they run amo, now this party they do amo, is because of this party. And so right now, we are trivializing the problems and the challenges that we are facing as a nation. You know, so there are talks all over social media claiming that the violence and actions leading to the high level of insecurity, which now threatens our very existence, are sponsored. Members of the ruling and opposition parties have thrown all caution to the wind, and they exchange blames. It is this party, it is that party, rather than just actually recognizing terrorism for what terrorism is and taking actions to stop the incessant killings and kidnappings, which is threatening the very existence of Nigerians. We must stand united or fall divided. We must stand united. Nigeria is at the very brink. We are at the very brink of war, and I don't think we are saying this enough. I think everyone is just looking at, okay, maybe because the thing never touched me, make we just look at, and everyone is just playing with the situation. The situation has become so dire and would worsen if we do not join voices and actions and implore the government to take decisive actions to protect the lives and properties of the people. We must educate and reorientate ourselves. We must advocate for peace and tolerance. Negative and irresponsible tribal comments, it has no other thing to do than to incite violence. So it breeds this intolerance that we have for ourselves. And this tribe will say, now these people, if these people come out, we will get peace and all of those things. And then we wonder why some people are killing another tribe and why another tribe is killing another tribe. So I feel we must be able to preach peace and preach unity, if at all we want to see the end of this insurrection. I have always said this, and I think this is time to say it again. In terms of, if we're talking about security, I think the time for decentralization is now. The power that the federal government wields as far as security is concerned is too much. And it would seem that even that power now is overwhelming, such that they don't even know what to do with the power again. Assign state governments with the task of security responsibilities. Yes, at federal government level, there are some powers that you cannot just take away. But let the security apparatus in the police, security operatives that you have, let them be responsible to state governments. Let state governments take charge. Let them take charge. A governor of a particular state will not be looking at while his state is burning, and the governor is crying to federal government to come and help. So what then is the duty and what then is the work of the state government? We had mentioned earlier, but I'm just going to chip in again, that religious leaders have a role to play. You find religious leaders being totally irresponsible and reckless with the comments that they make, knowing fully well the power that you wield as a religious leader, knowing fully well the hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people that listen to you and take your word as law. You need to be very careful. You need to be cautious of how you urge people on, because comments that you make in ways incite violence against perhaps other religions. And then you have this religion attacking this religion. Oh, they attacked us first. Oh, they attacked us first. So I think now is the time for our religious leaders to come together and preach peace and tolerance is very important. So once again, I would say conclusively that I think we need there's never been a time to call for peace and to call for tolerance and to call for unity as now, using our voices, using our platforms to advocate for peace. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's just turning and turning and turning, and Nigerians are just looking at who is the next person to fall victim.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
This medal has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
We now start hearing the shoot of gun.
Whatever I have done.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayiwa Mesale, and today we have a full house. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
And somebody went AWOL yesterday.
No.
Yes, I did. Yes, you did.
No, she did not.
Why are you answering? Did I mention your name?
No, because I know who was meant to be here yesterday and know who you're referring to. So no, she did not.
So what happened? Where were you? Where did you enter? We're looking for you.
Public holiday. In fact, you reached out on Sunday and said, let's go somewhere. And I said, no, we're not around. I have plans. We make
I thought you were back now.
When you have a 3-day weekend, for us working folk, man, you got stuff.
How was it though?
It was good. Busy. I thought I would rest, but I didn't.
Oh, okay. NJ.
Hi.
Nwajiaga.
NJ for short.
Asampete.
Yeah.
Am I getting it right?
Yes, you got that one. You got that one right.
You look amazing.
I'm good.
It's been a while. It's been a minute.
I know,
We've
it's
not
good
seen
to be
you
here,
since.
man. I've been taking on life, and life has been taking me on. So we're here.
Welcome. How are you, Norma Efenge?
I'm great. I'm good.
Oh, she's back from the UK. I just realized. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. She's back.
How are you? How was your trip?
Oh, it was good. Very restful. As short as it was. very restful until I came back to
your reality.
Obodo, Nigeria.
Oh, stop it. It's normal.
That knows how to.
I know. It's normal.
Make your head to.
How would you know you left?
Your hair to stand on right? end. I think for me, always the anticlimax escalator for me. The moment that escalator is not working, man, you know you're back.
No.
That escalator.
No.
Or the air conditioning is not working. Once you step on.
As you get to the door of the plane, you haven't stepped out. The breeze embraces you, then followed by the smell.
Funny
so you're like, welcome to Lagos.
It was actually better this time around. There was no smell.
There's a newer airport.
Until you it was still the old one. Until you get to that escalator. The moment you have to carry your hand luggage in your hands and walk down that staircase. So
this nepotism.
Everybody, no, you know what I love? When you are in the queue in the UK or wherever it is, you bump into her, you say, oh, I'm so sorry, excuse me. When you get to Nigeria, waiting be your problem. The same people.
We're discussing nepotism. It's okay. This is why we cannot rise above nepotism in this country. A little nepotism, Jehovah Shammah, never hurts nobody, honey. If you got it, use it. Press on with it. Remind them of it. You know, I heard something that nepotism is actually part of society. You can't really take
definitely. Most definitely.
So let us be asking ourselves the question like we do not know the answer. So nepotism is a form of favoritism which is granted to relatives in various fields, including business, politics, entertainment, sports, religion, and other activities. It is the best of patronage by public officers in appointing others to position by reason of blood and marital relationship. Now, it is showing, it is a showing of favoritism for relatives or friends based upon their relationship rather on an objective evaluation of the ability or sustainability. Now, or suitability rather. So it's our ladies' night out. As you can see, it's a full house. Uti, Mwajaga, Naman, I are discussing, can Nigerians rise above nepotism? And when we open our phone lines, we really love to hear what you have to say. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. All right, every year, thanks for staying with us, every year countries around the world celebrate World Blood Donor Day. The event serves to raise awareness of the need for safe blood and blood products and to thank voluntary unpaid blood donors for their life-saving gifts of blood. A blood service that gives patients access to safe blood and blood products in sufficient quantity is a key component of an effective health system. Now, the global theme for World Blood Donor Day changes each year in recognition of the selfless individuals who donate their blood for people unknown to them. So this is our heart goes to everyone. You know, we're saying thank you to you for always, you know, I mean, just the killings that happened in Owo. We saw a lot of Nigerians going to the hospitals to go and donate blood. So that you are donating blood, you're actually saving a life. So please do not stop, you know, and keep on the good work. Who has donated blood here? Not a problem. Who has donated blood here?
I have.
Okay.
So I'm a universal donor.
Oh, I am also. See, that's why we
own eggs. Own eggs. So yeah. So I mean, I think from the time that I realized what it meant to be a universal donor,
yeah.
I give blood as often as I can. Unfortunately, it's not as easy in
here.
Lagos.
Yes.
It was a lot easier abroad, right? It was something that you could do periodically because you knew where the blood banks were. I think here we are more prone to, I know there are blood banks because I know people buy blood, but we're more prone to when people, like family members or somebody needs blood, then people go and give blood. I think it's only once or so that we had a blood bank come to work. But I think it's just something that needs to be a lot more commonplace because people still sadly die whilst waiting for blood and all of that. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm also a universal donor, so for every time there's a call for me to give blood, I'm available. And that's why I don't have tattoos and all of those things, you know.
Do tattoos?
Well, they say, they say that, you know.
Oh yeah, there's a long list.
There's a long list of things you shouldn't have, you know, when, you know, you want to donate blood, you know, and all of that. So
I think tattoos, if you've had certain things like TB, of course STDs and the common ones, but yeah, a few odd things that you wouldn't expect,
I think it should be
but they do.
a more popular thing that happens here. Yeah. So that, because most of the time when these cases occur and people find themselves in difficult situations where maybe family members are not in the right position or in the right location to actually donate blood, but they already have like a blood bank.
So the sad part about that blood bank, so when you go to the general hospital, for instance, to give birth to a child, they mandate your husband to donate, I think, a pint or 2 pints of blood to keep it there. So it is always, you must, that's part of the prerequisite for you to give birth in the general hospital. But you see, the sad thing about it is that, you know, now those things are supposed to be given to people for free. So we don't know if they actually, the people that need it are given for free, or they have to now still pay for it. So Nigerians, it's just the tricky, this integrity issue, and again, fetish. Everybody is juju somewhere. They want to go use my blood for something. So people are a bit skeptical when it comes to donation of blood, except maybe it is your family member and you need, you know, if not, we should actually have, like you rightly said, blood banks. You just go and you just, you know, walk in and just give blood.
Once you meet up with the standards.
Absolutely. All right, so let's quickly run through our news. Norma, what did you find for us in the news?
Okay, so my news has that national electricity grid crashes from 3,703 megawatts to 9 megawatts. So the story goes that figures obtained this Monday from the Nigerian Electricity System Operator, an arm of the federal government's power transmission company, showed that the national electricity grid actually crashed from a peak of 3,703 megawatts to as low as 9 megawatts on Sunday. Nigeria witnessed widespread blackouts on Sunday after the national grid collapsed around 6:49 p.m. before engineers from the Transmission Company of Nigeria strived to ensure the recovery of the grid. So basically, we've been having these issues. I think this is about the 5th time that we're having this issue of national grid shutting down and people not having light. I mean, various places in Enugu, Abuja, Kaduna, all of these places confirmed that the grid collapsed in various areas. I think this is something that the federal government needs to really look into, because if we do not put our acts together, electricity is a major aspect of the resources that should be readily available. If we are going to have investments, if we're going to have people coming to partner with Nigeria and they do not have the means to handle their business because there's no light and I mean, this really tells bad on us as a nation. And if they do not handle it, it's going to really affect a lot of things, economy, whatever. It cuts across board. A lot of people are suffering. I mean, some of us are really, really suffering from the recent developments, the high tariffs and all of that. And not even having the light at all will make things even worse. So it's just something that the federal government needs to pay attention to as quickly as possible.
All right, NJ.
My story today is, okay, so recently every time I open the news, I see something about rape, and it's starting to become like a norm. Yeah, like it's almost normal. Like already this week, this is like the 2nd story. So this story comes from Warri Delta. I think it's a private secondary school. So it's an English teacher in, the name of the school is Gabriela School. I don't know if I pronounced that well, but that's in Warri, in Delta State. And she, 12-year-old JSS2 student got raped by her English teacher.
Oh, wow.
And it's not the first time. Apparently, he's been harassing and, you know, making passes at her. And at some point in time, he was able to get her alone. And not until her parents realized that something was wrong with her. You know, after such an experience, there's always that reaction, and that's, you know, so by the time they realized and they started asking questions, then the truth came out that this is not just now. So it's not a one-day thing. It's something that has been happening over time. And just a few weeks ago, there was also another story about a young man who raped his neighbor's niece, who was 14 years old, to death.
Oh, wow.
So I'm wondering what is happening in schools right now. Is it that we're getting to the point where we have to separate? We have to always make sure that male teachers are not left alone with female students, and female students are not left alone with female teachers, because the harassment is getting too much. It's bad enough that you have to send your kids to school wondering what they're learning, but to also know that they're not even safe in the hands of the people who you have trusted and you have paid to protect them. It's something that I don't know how the schools, whether public, federal government, private, can explain this, because you don't want to send... People are going to start homeschooling because it's becoming threatening to send your kids
even
to
at home
school.
they're not safe. I mean, there was a story I think I saw, was it last week, of a home lesson teacher. Yeah, a home lesson teacher that had sexual intercourse with his students. I think he was caught as well. So even at home they're not safe. It's just the situation is really bad, and I think again we are not really serious about dealing with rape. See, if a man knows that if you are caught and they castrate you immediately, or maybe you are hung, you know, it will reduce, at least it will curb it. I don't know. I think the punishment is not severe enough, because you need to be able to get, see, just like the way people are so scared to take drugs to is it Malaysia now or is it Indonesia? Because you know that there's no explanation. Once they catch you, you are dying straight. They just hang you. So if we start to take rape like that, because it's a menace, if we take it like that, if you are caught, this is the situation, I am 100% sure that it will curb it, because now a lot of people get away with this. And that's why, you know, it continues to be prevalent.
We're in a land of impunity now.
Yeah.
I think that's just it. And it's not even just rape, sadly.
It's everything.
From murder, I mean, where there's no consequences, it's human nature.
Absolutely.
It will just continue to proliferate.
Absolutely. And just to add, even the boys are not as safe.
They're not.
You can't even say, because now we have people...
No, that's why I said male and female. So, you can't even leave any adult with the kids.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Sad.
Yep.
What's your story?
My headline says, Nigeria needs 3.6 million metric tons of fish annually. So the federal government yesterday said Nigeria needs about 3.6 million metric tons to meet the annual demand for fish. Locally, we are only able to produce a third of that at 1.2 million. So 2.5 million thereabouts is currently subsidized via importation. So you can just imagine, in the face of our current FX realities, how much pressure fish alone puts on us. And it's not just fish. There's so many other things that we import. I know that the current administration has put shone a huge spotlight on agriculture, but really this is a small microcosm of that with aquaculture, and really the opportunities that exist there, to think that we're importing 2.5 metric tons of fish annually.
3.6?
No, 3.6 is the annual consumption, but we only produce a third of that. So the rest right now
is about 2.0.
Is about 2.5 that we're currently importing. So it really just shows that even with a lot of, the story goes on to talk about a lot of projects that are happening in the ECOWAS region, all in looking to support that value chain of fisheries with about 15 member states. But for me, it was just important to point out that there are opportunities. I mean, just think about it. Food is still a huge thing. Absolutely. With 200 million people, but
Nigeria is ripe for a lot of things. I don't know. We just need the right set of people.
So if anybody is not sure what business to do.
No, but I know a woman that actually, this was like probably maybe 10 years ago or maybe 12 years ago when I met the son Asa. Then her turnover annually was 2 billion. And she was, she's just cold room. So 2 billion, this was, I think, about 12 or 14 years ago, because I think my son was barely like 2 or so. 2 billion,
just on fish.
Her turnover, just on fish.
But
so it's a lot of money.
In this situation that we can, because we have rivers all around us.
So I mean, I think at this point,
because of the oil spillage,
no, this is not even going to be at this type of level, volumes. It has to be farmed.
You have to be farming it. Have you not seen the videos?
Yeah.
Where there was a video I just saw recently where they were pumping the fish into they had groomed it in the ponds and they release it into the. So you must farm your fish.
You have to farm it. So aquaculture as a
how many things can you catch inside the water?
Aquaculture as a whole, at that volume, it just shows that
there's a huge market.
I know that there are
the value chain.
fish farms outside,
Yeah.
but to think that it's easy to understand that we can't even, the amount of that we consume, we can't meet it because it's not just fish.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
are too many things. You'll be surprised.
we're
Fish,
200 million
metric
people
tons
now.
of fish.
So my story is a quick one. I'll just quickly mention. So for all you social media users, federal government orders Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and others to delete information that violates Nigerian laws and provide information on harmful accounts, troll groups, disinformation networks. So it says the government has, let me just quickly say that the conditions, right, are stated in recent release. Some of the conditions include having a country representative, registering with the Corporate Affairs Commission as a legal entity, complying with tax obligations, deleting information that violates Nigerian laws, and provide information on harmful accounts, troll groups, disinformation networks. So they must be able to provide, if you are busy shouting at government, they will provide, that the social media platforms were also directed to provide a dedicated channel that is available at all times where an authorized government agency can lodge or forward a request or complaint against contents that are unlawful or harmful. Long story short, control your finger when you are typing because if they come for you,
tracking is the case.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back from the break, we want to discuss nepotism. Stay with us. Now, thanks for staying with us. Now, according to this day, the presence of nepotism in Nigeria has taken a toll on our development. How can new thinking, worthwhile policies, and development occur when those appointed are there to defend tribal interests rather than those of the majority? In a country where ethno-religious considerations, zoning, and federal characters are deemed more important than talent, how can we be surprised rather that nepotism and ethnic competitions are rampant and things seem to remain the way they are? Where being a relative of a or a politician rather comes with advantages, where close relatives of politicians are likely to be employed in the public or even private sector and earn higher salaries, while those that are suitable and best for the position are ignored. We are all guilty of favoring people we know or are related to, or at some point, right? All of us were all guilty of that. People that we know and we favor them. So we're asking if Nigerians, today we're asking, can we rise above nepotism? That's the question. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at Wayshow, AFCO1 with the hashtag Wayshow. I think we had a video. I don't know if they have that video. The late MKO Abiola, when he was talking, it was a video that went round during during Democracy Day when he was saying that, he would hire based on competence, never about, where you're from or what tribe you're in. And again, juxtapose that to a video that Father Kuka was accusing the president of nepotism and all of that. So I'm just wondering, yeah, nepotism is here, and I don't think, it's going anywhere anytime soon. But like the quote, I like that quote, a little nepotism does not hurt, But let me take the video quickly, then we'll come back to the conversation.
As president, it's not my business what religious color anybody wears. In ITT, in Concord, in RCN, in Summit Oil, in the bakeries, in the bookshop, in the presses, and so we employ people purely on merit, round pegs in round holes, period. There are so many people who work for me whose hometown I don't even know. I don't even know them anyway. I don't have to know them. Because we want to be objective.
The percentage of those who want this country to sink, probably less than 5% or 3%. So over 90% of ordinary Nigerians just want to be left to do. They're not. I think we have oversubscribed in terms of what government has the capacity to do. Because beyond electing a man from your village, after the election, you won't see him again. And there is nothing to suggest that the people from the president's town are necessarily benefiting more than other people, except of recent, where some people have on their own carried projects to Daura. And I'm not sure the president himself necessarily asked them to do that. But short of that, we're still struggling to get to Mina. Mina has given us 2 former heads of state. If you go to Jonathan's hometown, it's not as if you can drive with your eyes closed. Okay, if you go to, I've been to Shagari, where President Shagari came from. And I've not been to Obasanjo's hometown, but when I met Obasanjo first time he was talking to me, he said to me, I swear I'm sure your village is better than my own. But things may have changed now. But I'm just saying that let's look for the government to create a space that all of us can flower in. Because government can never employ everybody.
As president, it's not...
Okay, so... 2 different people, 2 different perspectives saying the same thing, but just in different, I think this is across 30 years, across 3 decades. But let me hear your thoughts on nepotism, because whenever I look at the Nigerian system, right, it's almost really difficult for you to see some level of progress, because for every single time that we think to get the man for the job, right, I mean, the elections are around the corner, we're already hearing what people are saying, and all of that. And it seems like this thing is here to stay, is never going to go away, But I always believe that there's always a solution. Can we find, right, a middle ground where you can do what you need to do, but at the same time, you also ensure that, we're getting things done right, So that's where the conversation, is stemming from. If we truly can, yes, there's nepotism, can we rise above this and start to actually find the right people, square pegs and square holes, like that kind of situation, to move the nation forward? Is that possible?
Okay, so let me try and set the scene with some numbers. Nepotism is not new, and it's not a Nigerian concept, but it is, in my opinion, we've taken it beyond. And in fact, if you have 100%, right? And the survey says that in 2019, 44% of the respondents of that survey who got a job in the public sector in 2019 paid bribes. 32% got it based on nepotism. 44 plus 32 is what, 76?
So bribe was 30.
Bribe was 44.
44%.
Nepotism was 32%.
Nepotism was 32%.
Which leaves us with a meager 24%, less than a quarter of the people who we can assume just by elimination will say, okay, maybe got it on competence. That's a clear picture of, for me, why we are where we are today. Public sector is a good mirror of where things don't work. And things can work in the public sector. I know we talk about it, but we've seen some states distinguish themselves, so it's not impossible. But if I borrow the words of the late MKO there, if you don't put square pegs in square holes and round pegs in round holes, what you get is just a full ship of people and nobody's steering the ship and the ship is not going anywhere. So I think the public sector is a good sample to use. In certain industries, it's just one tribe. A lot of the federal parastatals and all of that, it just feels like it's one tribe. So even when I think of it, that I say, okay, maybe a little bit of nepotism is not bad. It will add to the diversity and inclusion, because in some places when it's completely skewed, perhaps nepotism or bribery is the only way you can get in. But the bigger problem for us is, I don't think that we can rise above it. One, because we are not programmed on merit. So even in the corporate sector, nepotism exists. But it is whether we now see it as detrimental to us as a nation in terms of, okay, how do we move forward? We all keep saying we want change, you go and get your PVC, Nigeria has to change. But if we don't address key issues like this, where people are in there, and whether they're capable or not, I was reading something today that was a claim that somebody else won one of the other aspirants won the primary, but it was handed to somebody else. And I'm thinking, how did we get here? So we have a lot of factors. Nepotism shouldn't be one of our problems because it's not a new concept and it's not going anywhere. But we've overdone it. And that's where it's now become a hindrance for us.
Absolutely. NJ, let me hear your thoughts on this.
I would go, I'll take up from where it's not, I don't think it's something that started today, but, and like she rightfully said, I don't think it's something that is ever going away because we don't believe in merit. We don't believe people merit anything, and it goes beyond even politics. We're just not programmed like that. You don't believe anybody has to work that hard in order to get that. So most of the time is mostly who do you know, how do I get there? And even when you get there, you're trying to put your own people as like your, base, so that at the end of the day, when you ask about something or you want something, they're not going to ask you questions because you put them there. So everyone is building, everyone is trying to build this, this big house. But the thing is that if you're building without good foundation, at the end of the day, it's going to crumble when the wind blows. So that's where we are in Nigeria now, where this thing has even gone past even, like, if we don't start to retrace our steps, it's going to go beyond what you and I can see now. Like,
absolutely.
I don't know how bad it can go, but it's going to go.
I was going to come back to that Otis question, that what, is it detrimental to us as a nation? But let me hear your initial thoughts on this, because we need to also understand the consequences of why it has to stop. Yeah, go ahead, Noma.
I'm going to play a little bit of the devil's advocate here, because there are also instances where nepotism has been favorable, where there are competent hands. When you come into some level of position, you want to surround yourself with people who you can trust, right? You will, first of all, and this is natural, it's not, I like when Uti started, it's not something that is new to just Nigeria, right? It's done everywhere in the world. We have people, leaders who will come in and they would also bring in their tribe, right? Because you want people who can help you look good with whatever you want to do or what you want to be able to accomplish, right? So yes, there have been instances where it has worked, where people who are competent can help you actually accomplish goals and your dreams. However, like we always do in Nigeria, anything we learn, we overlearn, so to speak. So we find countless times where people have had the opportunity to engage in nepotism, to actually bring in people that are incompetent, people who have nothing to offer. And at the end of the day, you have a worse situation we have a worse situation on our hands. Of course, this government has been accused on so many levels about nepotism because some of the areas in our nation feel that they have been marginalized on so many across board, whether it's in the economy, whether it's in governance, whether it's in the cabinet and all of that. So it can be, well, I would want to say it can be good when the basis for which you are engaging in nepotism has competence at the core before anything else.
No.
Because, yes.
It's not they work that way.
No.
Well, because guess what? The whole idea of nepotism is that, regardless whether the person is competent or not, as long as say the person is my person, I put the person in a position, right? So there's no how.
You can put the person in the right position.
Because guess what? What is nepotism? Nepotism is favoritism. You are favoring people against others, right? Yes. I'm not saying that it is good only when it is, there should be a balance. If you're favoring people because you actually want people that will help you look good, it's not a bad thing. If you know that they're up to the job and they have the competence, they have what it takes, the principles and all of that, you can bring it. There's nothing wrong in bringing in the people that you know and you want to favor. But it's not done to the detriment of the the majority, right? Where it's now a monopoly of all of your people, and then other people do not have a say. That's where I have a problem with it.
So they says nepotism is the bedrock of social existence. This was a quote by Adam Bello. So if they say that it is the bedrock, tell me how.
No, I mean, Norma has said it right. If you go in somewhere, you want people that you can trust, right? You build your team around you. Now, ideally, you should build that team with
competence at the back of the mind.
People. But I even want to go, for me, it's like from a Genesis point of view, where did we start to get it wrong? Because it's not a new concept. It's as old as time itself. You see people put their friends in office because I need somebody who I can trust. I need somebody who can tell me the truth. It may not even necessarily be about competence, but somebody that just keeps you grounded. I think that for me, Nigeria, where did we start to get it wrong? The first thing that comes to mind for me is the concept of federal character. Because we started off meaning well, right? It was our own version of diversity and inclusion. We wanted all tribes, all ethnicities, all languages to be covered. So somewhere in the Constitution, 1979, I believe, somewhere there, it got inserted. And then somehow we've abused it. And like Norma said, when we learn something, we take it to the hilt. So what we created for good, a phrase for me that I think best represents the most negative part of nepotism in Nigeria. When it's working for you, you say it's opportunity. When it's not working for you, you say it's corruption. So the truth is, if we all tell the truth sitting around this table, one way or the other, you don't benefit from nepotism, tell the truth, huh?
So see, I saw this quote somewhere, and I would like us to take it because I like to open our phone lines. It says, nepotism is the lowest and the least imaginative form of corruption. It's the lowest but the least imaginative form of corruption. Nepotism can get you very far in the world if you've got the right connection. So I still cannot associate nepotism and any form of good, say, even if the person is competent, right? But let me take a break. We have to open our phone lines. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Now, thanks for staying with us. If you just tuned in, it's our Ladies' Night Out, and we're asking, can Nigerians rise above nepotism? Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet us at WayShow, AFCO1 with the hashtag WayShow. Our phone line is now open. The number to call is 07025-007749. Please remember to turn off the volume of your television set while you make that call. All right, so as I was saying, because you know why? There are some things that you can't stop. You know, you start it goes deeper, it's deeper, and all of a sudden you will find the reason to say, oh, this person is the person for the job. My point is, can we start to do blind recruitments? Can we start from there, where I don't even want to know? You know the way they do this, the voice, that your back is turned. You're not seeing the person that is singing. You just hear the person. So the same thing, right? Where let our credentials go forward. Do you understand? If at the end of the day, Norma, you throw the credentials forward and it is your person that eventually the credibility looks good and everything, and the person is picked, then it gives me some form of comfort that yes, we are ready. But as long as you are telling me that you want to hire someone because as long as the person is competent and all of that, it not go work that way. But let me take youngest old man.
Okay.
Youngest old man has called.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. You see, I just want to be frank with you. You see, I think democracy is in the system for it to fight nepotism. In a situation where you'll be able to have one or two laws that will allow people to come in even they are not favored in your book, but because of the policy and the law guiding the country. Nepotism works mostly in the military era, where you get people that you can trust and their family or friends that will get your back, or how do you say it? But in this case today, we don't find ourselves executing the nepotism in democracy. And it's so open to the extent that even when you are doing the nepotism business, you bring people so incompetent that it's open, that this person is not in the job. That is why you see somebody that read agric being a bank manager. So all that kind of thing, it's so painful. And I come to see that the word of my professor that said that the people of today are suffering from emotional bankruptcy and a psychological holocaust. I come to believe with my prof on that, because that nepotism is so open that they don't even hide it. It's supposed to be timed and kind of you do it with a close concept. This time is so open. If you are not my brother, you don't do the same thing I do, you're not getting anything. So I hope we wake up to that. I understand that democracy is even there to fight nepotism, so that everybody can benefit, even if you don't have a direct connection with who is in turn or in power. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And where I even have that problem with the nepotism is that where I have the problem with that nepotism is that you are in a place where, you know, everybody, I mean, it's almost like you can never succeed if you do not belong to a particular group. Look, do you understand? In the movie industries, there, in all the industries, everybody. So I get it that you want to bring your tribe. I get it that you want to bring the people that are that you can trust to deliver the job. But there are still good people out there. There are still competent people out there. My point is, keep widening the net, because that way you get more people into that pool.
So here's what I wanted to say. When you talk about competence, it assumes that the person, for all intents and purposes, at the top of the nepotism triangle is competent. So, you know, when you say it, you are assuming that, so I have now entered, I have arrived, somehow I have been knighted, crowned, whatever you want to call it. I'm now in charge. You are assuming that I am competent enough to even identify the competent players to bring in. Let me tell you why I don't think that's the case. You see, some people are strategic, right? And this is where you start to measure the level of competence. I want to get to a destination. And I look at the future and I say, when I get to that destination, what am I going to need to succeed there? If success is truly your actual objective, you would have looked at that role and you would have said, you know what? One day, I want to be XYZ.
Would you hold that thought? Sorry. Somebody has been holding. Joseph, I believe from Kwara State. You're live.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening. Sorry for keeping you.
How is program today?
We thank the Lord.
Okay, I want to protest before I contribute to the program today. The earlier, towards the ending of last week, I called. You guys refused to pick my call.
Very sorry.
It pains me a lot, but that one has gone already.
Sorry.
Yeah, very sorry.
What I'm protesting, but that one has gone. There's no cause for alarm. What I want to talk about is about nepotism.
Go ahead.
This nepotism is not about benefit alone. When you go to some institution, like me, I go to a Litman University, private institution. If you fight with maybe a Hausa man or a Fulani man, they will chase you away from school, no matter who you are. I'm the product of that school. I can say it anywhere. It happened. It happened to my friend. So my friend is the weakness. I can call my friend. I can even call my friend to even call your program tonight. To the extent that if you are not Hausa or Fulani, forget you are going. No matter who you are leaving that school.
Thank you.
So it's always odd when something like that is happening. Like a management supposed to call all students or a student that are involved in the matter, that what really happened, to question you what really happened, to confirm what happened. But they will not do that. Immediately they will just suspend. After suspension,
you're out of
the
school. Thank you.
You are going home.
Thank you, Joseph.
Well,
go ahead.
I mean, rather than die, let's go ahead. But so to quickly wrap up what I was saying, right? So you assume that there's competence. Now, here's why I don't think there's competence. Because like I said, if you're going somewhere and your plan to get there is to succeed, you do what everybody else does. You start to plan, you start to prepare. So you develop skills within yourself. And you know that, okay, when I get there, I need to build a team. you start finding the right people along the way. You start grooming them. So you teach them the same way you're developing your skills, the same way you're developing their skills.
Yeah.
And then as you're growing together, you are all sharing a vision and a plan. No, what happens is that the vision and the plan is to chop money. So when you reach, then of course, it's easy. Chopping money is not a skill. It's something you do. All of us come together. That is why we have the concept of national cake. Cut your slice, eat your own, and make room for the next person.
So what is this costing us as a people?
Everything.
You know, and because it's not serving us as it stands today, right? You know, what's...
Well, unfortunately, nepotism is not going to go away anytime soon. Because this is something that is ingrained in our people. It's a mindset that grew over time. Uti rightly said, when it was infused in the Constitution. So that case of federal character, so to speak, and all of that. It's going to take a process to get people to pay attention to what should be topmost, which is about competence. If we're going to move forward, I love the analogy that she made when you said you have a vision. A lot of the people that we even have do not even know where they're going. They shall know they're going somewhere. They're not sure where they say what is the end goal, and they're dragging as many people that they feel comfortable with along. If we have more competent people who know, like I keep saying, it's nepotism. It's not bad in itself until it's more about just bringing in your people and less about competence. If we all had the opportunity to do something, right? We're going to start with people that we know, whether we like it or not.
Okay, Edward from Lagos. You're live. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi,
Good evening,
Edward.
ladies.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
Thank you. I want to contribute to your discussion this evening.
Go ahead.
You're talking about nepotism. First of all, we need to understand what nepotism is all about. I think it is where somebody is in a position of influence, you know, bring in his or her own relations, irrespective of their whether they are competent or they are not competent. And it also leads to, for instance, you that is, you know, moderating this program, you are an MD of a company, and a lot of people have applied for some jobs. You look at their CV, you know they can do this job, but you prefer your sister who just finished an O-level certificate and make her give her the position of that place they are looking for. Why are you doing all those things? Because you are looking for people that will cover your ass. You yourself is not competent. It leads to corruption. It runs down the company, and that's exactly what is killing Nigeria.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. So it's costing us a lot, right? And that's why I say that there's no sugarcoating it. You know,
No.
Nepotism has never been about considering competence. You know, I just wanted to punch that thing very well, because it's not, if it's for competence, then we'll not even have that subject. We'll not even talk about it anymore. You know, it has never been and it will never be about competence. So how do we move forward from this? Make we start today. All right, sorry, hold on. Let me just take a quick call. Charles from Port Harcourt, you're live. Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, Charles. Good evening.
You guys are looking very lovely.
Thank you.
All right. Nepotism. I think I want to look at nepotism from this angle, insecurity aspect. Take for instance in this country, I think it's one of the ills of this Buhari administration. If you look at this government thoroughly, you discover that no president in any administration has showcased this level of nepotism in their government. Look at, for instance, we're having issue of insecurity in this country, and you're telling me that these insecurity chiefs can only be found in one part of the country. And look at the way the country is today when it comes to something with security. You have
the chief of army staff, the chief of whatever, custom, immigration, and all. All these things brings about unproductivity, the highest form of corruption. Take for instance now, if I'm an army officer and I discover that maybe I'm in a particular rank, maybe I'm a general, and I discover that maybe people ahead of me, they might be retiring very soon. Because I'm not from the north, I probably think maybe I don't have any chance of being the chief of army staff. These are the things that brings about bickering in the system, brings about murmuring, and thereby in general brings about unproductivity. It doesn't really help. It can never help. I think to me personally, if I want to describe it, I want to describe it as the highest form of corruption. It's not helping this country, and it's one of the problems that's benefiting this nation.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, thinking Nigeria first, because we have like just a few minutes to go. Think Nigeria first, because now, when I listen to MKO Abiola talking, he was saying that the conversation has never been about whether the person is a Yoruba or whatever. It has always been about who is competent for the job, and that's his own thought process. Our thinking has been skewed. We think Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, like that. So if we start to think Nigeria first, I'm sure we would kill all of these conversations around, nepotism or,
But guess what, again, by the time you think Nigeria, which should be the situation actually, and there are people who are competent, unfortunately, they are from a particular part of Nigeria. It's also going to be seen as...
Hold on. Hassan, you're live. That's the power that I have. Hold that thought. Hassan, quickly, you're live from Edo State. Oh, shoot. Sorry, we can't take... Hello?
Hello?
Go ahead, please. You're live, quickly. I think we lost the call. So we lost the call. So you were saying?
I said that, so this mindset, because sometimes when we say competent and then you're dealing with people who are competent, unfortunately, they are from a particular part of the country. You are still going to be seen as being nepotic because it seems like you're favoring a particular side, but people will not see it that you are also, employing or you're taking them on based on their competence level.
Oh, God.
So let me just...
Quickly, Uti, we don't have time.
A couple of things. So I think that this thing we're talking about, we were having a conversation a few days ago around the presidency and the fact that we all focus on that. And I come back to the public sector because that's where it's most rife in Nigeria. And it's also the place where we almost need the most change, to see the kind of change we want to see in Nigeria. It comes to how do we fix the problem? Because you're now saying, are we going to rise above it or we're going to find a way through it? Because it will always exist. Please, if the corporate sector can do it, where we have everybody represented and it's based on competency and skill, people still need to keep their jobs, people still need to eat. Can we start to look for round holes and square places where we can fit people? So the concept for me is, do we start to assess people's competency? You're already in the public service today. Can we just assess you? There is plenty roles right across the public sector.
That fits your
Maybe we start moving
level.
you from here and putting you there and moving people around. So people are not losing their jobs. So from a perspective of the economic impact, it's not so harsh. Because we're looking for real solutions to this problem. Will it always exist? Will I come into power tomorrow and feel that I need some people around me who are my people, who I can trust and who even understand the way I work? It will always happen. But can we move past this? Because when we talk about the effectiveness of our leaders, they're not islands. They need all the people around them to work and understand how they think. So maybe we start to move people around and start to assess their capacity and put them in the right places.
All right. So we have a final caller, Robert from Abia State. You're live. Quickly, please.
Okay, good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, ladies in the house.
Hi, go ahead, please.
Okay, based on the topic you are discussing, if Nigerians can
rise above nepotism, yes.
Rise above nepotism, I think Nigeria can rise above nepotism if we should consider doing the right things at the right time, even if it means selecting somebody who is from a particular region or whatever. It's possible that those people can do well. And if they do well, I know Nigerians, I know the generation I belong to, who will appreciate the fact that those people are from a particular region and they are doing the thing. You cannot hide when things are going right.
Yes.
There's no way it can be hidden. It will be glaring to all of us that things are moving right and those people are the right people for this war.
Absolutely.
But when the things are not moving right and you keep insisting that let them be there, whether they get it right or they don't get it right, they are doing well. You see, there will be chaos in the society and there will be agitation and people will not be happy. Why don't you give other people opportunity to do same thing these people are doing and see if they can move the country forward?
Absolutely.
So
And I
in my
totally
own
agree
opinion,
with you.
we can rise above nepotism and I believe my generation can move forward and have a rethink about all this
I think it just
nepotism
starts
or
from,
whatever.
Thank
and
you so
move
much,
on
Robert.
this country.
Thank you. I think it's about the mind, but let me quickly take a comment. Norma, you have one. Hi, guys. So I think that constitutional review could help. That's from Chisom. Thanks. It's. I think that if we start to think, because now I don't think across tribal lines. My thought process, that's how I was raised. I see you, I say a human being. I do not see, that's what I'm saying, it's just me. So if we start to have a collective that we are thinking like that, we're not thinking across lines. We're just thinking who is the best fit for this conversation. It's just like when we do the little schedules we do on the show here. The schedules are done based on the person's strength and competence to deliver on the topic. Do you understand? It is not about whether the person is my friend or not my friend. It is, can this person deliver on this topic? And the schedules are done. Do you understand? So that's how it's supposed to be, not about who is my friend, who I'm to be favoring, right? But that is a sad reality. But quickly, Norma, your comment, and I think we've run out of time.
Okay, so this is from Austin, from Delta. Says societal pressure encourages it. If your spouse recommends an unqualified in-law to run your company, do you go ahead to engage the person? If you don't, the home front becomes hot. So what do? You either choose bad manager to run your firm aground or face war at home. Think about it.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Thank you so much, ladies. It's a continuous conversation, even though we don't know it. But the truth is, I want to find that solution where we can work with it because it's not going anywhere.
I think, like, if I would just quickly put in this issue of tribe, if we can just delete it.
It's impossible.
If you delete tribe, then you put in religion. You're going to be putting, there's always something
So
to
as
replace
long
it.
as these
There's always
things
gonna be
continue to
something.
play a significant role, it's
Just stick
definitely
to
not going
merit,
anywhere.
competence. Those are things that can be checked.
Before we go, thank you, Norma. Thank you. Thank you, NJ. Ensure you follow us on Instagram, Celebration Africa. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Thank you so much to all the people that called in. Now, if you missed today's quote, a little nepotism never hurts nobody, honey. If you got it, use it. Press on with it. Remind them of it. I like this quote. I don't know why. It's so sarcastic. See you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Cross Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
year after a mob attacked the U.S. Capitol to overturn an election, how far has the investigation moved, and who is being held accountable? Go inside the hallways of the Hill and find out how close America was to losing and keeping its democracy. Come on, let's go! Next on The Inside Story, Capitol attack 1 year later. Hi, I'm Katherine Gibson, VOA's congressional correspondent, and welcome to my workplace, the U.S. Capitol. A little more than a year ago, this citadel of democracy was overrun by a mob of people with apparent intent to disrupt the official process of declaring the winner of the 2020 presidential election. 1 year later, the legal and political impact of the Capitol attack is still being determined. Ahead, details on the arrests, the search for accountability, and American attitudes on the January 6th attack. First, where President Joe Biden places the blame.
It has been a year since supporters of Donald Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol to stop lawmakers from certifying the results of the 2020 presidential election won by Joe Biden.
1 year ago today, in this sacred place, democracy was attacked.
Without once mentioning Donald Trump by name, Biden laid the blame squarely on him.
For the first time in our history, a president had not just lost an election, he tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power as a violent mob breached the Capitol.
Biden also blamed Trump for what Democrats call the big lie, the narrative that the 2020 election was stolen, a baseless claim the former president and some Republicans continue to push to this day.
Because he values power over principle, because he sees his own interest as more important than his country's interest, than America's interest, and because his bruised ego matters more to him than our democracy or our Constitution. He can't accept he lost.
Trump canceled his planned news conference and said in a statement that this political theater is all just a distraction for the fact Biden has completely and totally failed. In a statement, Mitch McConnell, the Senate's top Republican, accused Democrats of trying to exploit this anniversary to advance partisan policy goals. Many observers say American democratic institutions had been under stress long before the assault. Strengthening voting rights and election integrity was highlighted by Vice President Kamala Harris as a needed response to the insurrection.
Will it be remembered as a moment that accelerated the unraveling of the oldest, greatest democracy in the world? Or a moment when we decided to secure and strengthen our democracy for generations to come?
The siege has had a global impact. Adversaries, including Russia and China, have used it to defend their undemocratic systems.
For Putin to continue to push the message around the world that U.S. democracy is not something to be longed for, that it is as chaotic and broken as the Russian system is. And for China to argue, as it does, that it has an alternative that is superior.
Biden rejected the arguments.
From China to Russia and beyond, they're betting that democracy's days are numbered. They've actually told me democracy is too slow, too bogged down by division to succeed in today's rapidly changing, complicated world. And they're betting America will become more like them and less like us. They're betting that America is a place for the autocrat, the dictator, the strongman. I do not believe that. That is not who we are. That is not who we have ever been. And that is not who we should ever be.
The road ahead is challenging. Fueled by election fraud conspiracies, Republicans in multiple states have championed legislation limiting voting access and giving them more power over their states' election systems. Democrats say these measures will disadvantage them at the ballot box and are a threat to democracy. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News, Washington.
1 year later, There are still questions about the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol and who was ultimately responsible for the worst attack on the seat of Congress in 2 centuries. Many of former President Trump's supporters claim the breach was not serious, while critics say Trump directed his supporters to overturn Joe Biden's election victory, effectively undermining the democratic process. Rioters roamed the halls of the Capitol building, raising security concerns for lawmakers and staffers who were preparing to certify Biden's election victory.
I'll never forgive former President of the United States and his lackeys and his bullies that he sent to the Capitol for the trauma that was exerted on our staff.
The U.S. House of Representatives moved swiftly to impeach Trump just days after the riot, alleging he was guilty of inciting the insurrection. But the U.S. Senate acquitted the former president of that charge in February 2021.
He is hereby acquitted.
Lawmakers have held numerous hearings on the security failures of that day. In late June, the U.S. House formed a special select committee to investigate the actions of then President Trump. The panel has issued subpoenas to compel former White House officials and Trump campaign staff to testify about the president's actions that day and the days leading up to the attack.
Find Mark Randall Meadows in contempt of Congress.
The committee is expected to release a report on its investigation before the November 2022 midterm elections, but the findings are not legally binding. In the U.S. courts, 704 individuals have been charged at the federal level with offenses ranging from misdemeanor trespassing charges to more serious charges, including violence against law enforcement and members of the media. Researchers estimate about 70 to 80 individuals involved in militant networks face even more serious charges of conspiracy.
These are the hierarchical domestic violent extremist groups, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, some 3%ers mixed in there, who are alleged to have not just gone to the Capitol to see the speech, to protest, to march, but with a concerted conspiracy ranging from the collection of funds, the dispersal of weapons, of marching up the steps of the Capitol in a stack formation, to leaving guns at a Virginia hotel.
5 people present at the January 6th riot died. The question still being debated is whether the chaos developed spontaneously or was part of a planned insurrection directed by the then President of the United States. I'm here on the east front of the U.S. Capitol, and I'm looking down at the walk to work that I take every day and have made thousands of times over the years as I walk to work with lawmakers and legislative aides and the thousands of support staff. We all make this our routine place of work, and I'm usually thinking about the story that I'm going to be writing that day. Of course, on January 6, 2021, I was instead watching thousands of rioters overwhelm these grounds. And I was thinking about how the most secure building in the world, where I've always felt safe, was suddenly the most unsafe place. There were rioters breaking glass. They were overwhelming U.S. Capitol Police that I know personally. And all I could think about was whether or not the colleagues that I see every day would be safe in these hallways. We're just steps away from the chamber of the U.S. Senate right now, and in a hallway where I do a lot of my reporting, shouting questions during press conferences with Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer. But of course, on the day of the Capitol riot, this was very different. It's a place where a lot of the most famous images of that day happened, from rioters rappelling down the walls of the U.S. Senate to carrying Confederate flags past some of these paintings. We're also very close to the spot where U.S. Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman directed rioters away from U.S. senators, dramatically changing the course of that day. That's how I'm going to remember this hallway from now on. Of the 725 people arrested and charged with crimes for the Capitol attack, more than half work in what are considered white-collar jobs, including business owners, architects, doctors, and lawyers. That analysis by University of Chicago professor Robert Pape also shows that just 13% of those arrested were part of violent militia groups. So who are these people? Our Carolyn Pursuti shows us some of them.
Of the thousands of supporters of former President Trump who stormed the Capitol, more than 725 have been arrested and charged with crimes. Floridian Robert Scott Palmer received the stiffest sentence yet, more than 5 years for assaulting a police officer with a dangerous weapon. Palmer is seen here spraying officers with a fire extinguisher, then throwing the canister at police. VOA was scheduled to interview Palmer, but he's in jail in quarantine after catching COVID. In a letter to the judge before sentencing, Palmer blamed former President Donald Trump and his advisors, writing, "They kept spitting out the false narrative about a stolen election and how it was our duty to stand up to tyranny." Another Capitol rioter from Florida, Felipe Marquez, says fake stories about human trafficking led him to join the uprising and to invade a senator's office. Marquez pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct in a restricted building and received 18 months probation. He told VOA in an email, "I would like to leave this in my past as a mistake."
I was trying to get more known for conservative content and getting views on YouTube, and the way the events of that day folded were terrible.
Name, gender, state.
John Lewis with George Washington University's program on extremism is tracking each case of those who stormed the Capitol.
You have defendants from 18 to 80 years old. You have individuals from every walk of life, from a salon owner to other business owners, to firemen, to law enforcement, to military.
More than 80% were charged based on evidence gathered from social media posts, often their own. Like Texan Jennifer Ryan, who gained notoriety after tweeting this photo in front of a broken window, along with a tweet that read, "We just stormed the Capitol. It was one of the best days of my life." Ryan later tweeted that she was not going to jail because she is blonde and white. Here's what she said as she left the courthouse after pleading guilty to demonstrating inside the Capitol and receiving a 60-day sentence.
I walked into the Capitol for 2 minutes, and I'm remorseful of that.
Ryan claimed her tweets, not her actions at the Capitol, got her into trouble.
I regret ever tweeting, but, it's a free country.
Some of those charged, like Yvonne St. Cyr, are unrepentant.
I own what I do, but I still believe in what I did was the right thing.
Others are not commenting on their case, including the man who propped his feet onto House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's desk and allegedly stole some of her mail. Instead, Richard Barnett, who faces 7 charges, is complaining about jail conditions, including solitary confinement.
You can love me, you can hate me. You can love me and hate what I did. You can not like anything about me. But you have to put that aside, because this isn't about me. This is about our federal prison system in America and what they are doing to people.
Trials have been avoided so far, as defendants have accepted plea bargains, sometimes for a lesser charge. Court observers say hundreds of remaining cases will take years to adjudicate. Carolyn Pursuti, VOA News, Washington.
Investigations by both the Justice Department and Congress will try to uncover the extent to which political extremist groups participated in the planning and execution of the Capitol attack. Seamus Hughes is the deputy director of George Washington University's program on extremism. We spoke about the spike in U.S. political radicalism.
So January 6th was a unique moment. It was a perfect storm, right? So it had the mainstream politicians advocating for it. You had social media that was asleep at the wheel. You had a extremism movement online that was kind of very united on this idea. And conspiracy theories that all walked around January 6th being the moment. So since January 6th, we've had about 700 people who have been charged and arrested related to that event. The vast majority are kind of a pedestrian in nature, almost typical profile. Yoga instructor, construction worker, realtor in Texas. Like you said, they range in charges from misdemeanors to felonies. The vast majority actually weren't part of organized groups. The organized groups are the most concerning for law enforcement's perspective. So those groups are the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, for the most part, and a few 3%ers. So the Oath Keepers are an organized militia group that have been planning and organized for a number of years, this idea of pushing back on what they saw as government overreach. The Proud Boys is kind of a very interesting group. Think of it like a very misogynistic, aggressive pack of men, mostly men, who go around the room kind of attacking other groups. And then the 3%ers who believe that they're the only ones who are standing up against the Republic. So why is law enforcement so concerned about them? Is if you look at the images on January 6th, think of the guys who were walking up in stack formation in camouflage up the steps of the Capitol. So they're organized, they know what they're doing. There is some early reporting that says that they may not have been the first ones to breach the Capitol, but they encouraged others to do so. And once they saw the opportunity, they seized it. So about 3 years ago, the FBI director was asked about how many active investigations he has in all 50 states for domestic terrorism. He said 850. He was asked 3 months ago, and he said 2,700. So we've seen a very large rise in domestic extremism groups. Now, that is a coalescing of the use of social media, so going down a rabbit hole of algorithms that get you down the path where you don't want to go. You have these groups that have been operating with relative impunity for a number of years. The U.S. government and the intelligence community and law enforcement have largely been focused on foreign threats, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and taken their eyes off these domestic groups and allowed them to recruit and radicalize in a clip they haven't had since Oklahoma City. Unfortunately, I think we're all to blame for this. If you look at not only social media, but kind of mainstream sites, the idea that you push this, that the election was a fraud, that election doesn't have integrity upon it, that plays into a larger conspiracy theory. And this sense of, and we also can't discount what happened in the last 3 years for COVID. You have everyone locked down on their computers, not able to interact, feeling like the government's restricting their ability to do something. And so this gave them a ride to do something. And so they just kind of got fed into that, again, that rabbit hole. They kept going down and down, where you're in a normal group on Facebook, and before you know it, you're in a QAnon group. And then you're going to a rally, and then you're going to January 6th. It's not that hard of a jump. Social media has not done a very good job when it comes to domestic extremism. They tend to have not policed their own sites. They haven't trained their content moderators on doing what they need to do. And to be fair, they haven't been pressured to do so. You know, every time they go up to Congress, they get kind of very random questions, not targeted. There's no bills that have any real legs in order to regulate them, so they're under no pressure to do so. And in order to do so, we're going to have to, as a society, say, enough is enough. We can't allow this to happen. We have to figure out a way to rein this in, all while understanding this is kind of a private company can set its own terms and services, but there's something to be said about shaming, right? There's something to be said about, listen, you know what's going on your platform. You've got to step up and do something. You saw what happened on January 6th, and there's some culpability there. It's clearly a growing problem, but we also need to put it in context. And, January 6th happens, but 2 weeks later, the president's inaugurated. There's no rally in D.C. The Justice for January 6th rally in the fall, very few people showed up. In many ways, we've hopefully learned the lessons in terms of getting better security, better intelligence, better information sharing at the national level. My concern is at the state level. We clearly are not on the same page in all 50 states on how to address this issue, and we're seeing these groups, whether it be the Proud Boys or others, move back away from a national model to a state and local model, and they're able to recruit people in their neighborhoods. And unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be a problem that's going to go away. If you look at the threat in the U.S., it's basically fractured. You have ISIS, you have Al-Qaeda, you have white supremacists, you have militia groups, you have QAnon, you have incels, you've got everybody on the map. It makes law enforcement's job a lot harder, and it's going to be, quite frankly, a mess for the next few years.
Political dividing lines are being hardened as former President Donald Trump continues to falsely claim the 2020 election was stolen from him. His influence on the Republican Party is evident as several key states are changing election laws to make it easier to reject results. VOA White House correspondent Anita Powell examines Trump's political influence ahead.
This is the face that launched thousands of angry people on the U.S. Capitol in one of the most stunning days in American history. The few thousand protesters who ended up entering the Capitol that January day sought out lawmakers, in particular House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and former Vice President Mike Pence, as they attempted to formalize Joe Biden's victory over Donald Trump in the November 2020 presidential election. The mob erected gallows, assaulted police and journalists, vandalized, and looted offices. The violence and chaos left 5 people dead, wounded 138 police officers, resulted in charges against more than 720 participants, and landed Trump a last-minute impeachment, his second, just days before he left office. Trump maintains the poll was rigged in the face of overwhelming evidence that there was no election fraud, as do some of his supporters, who continue to attend his post-presidential rallies.
I'm here to see our rightful president that actually won this election, and I just want to hear what he has to say.
Trump was planning to address his followers again on January 6th, but he canceled the event and says he'll instead address his followers at a rally planned for January 15th in Arizona. Observers say he's been busy all year trying to influence sympathetic lawmakers.
So he's trying to limit voting access in states that have diverse populations or ever more diverse populations like Georgia and Texas. He's trying to get people like Jim Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene, 2 members of Congress, to get them more of their own kind of people elected who will do things such as pursue policies designed to keep immigrants out of the United States, policies designed to take the United States out of its international alliances like the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So he has an America First agenda, he has an ego agenda, and he has an agenda about trying to rewrite history to match his false narrative, and he's pursuing that every day.
If anything, says analyst Suzanne Spalding, who leads the Defending Democratic Institutions project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, this galvanizing event has only further divided the United States politically. Republicans who spoke out against Trump right after January 6th seem to have gone silent in the past year. More troubling, she said, polls show that 1 in 3 Americans believes violence against the government is justified. This seems to have given Trump fuel.
I suspect in that sense he has felt emboldened. I think there was, again, in the very first hours after that, those events, a sense among some of the Republican members of Congress that perhaps he had gone too far, and that they thought they had some breathing room to distance themselves. And unfortunately, what seems to have happened is that he has not lost his grip on the Republican Party.
Without naming him, Biden laid blame at Trump's feet in a speech at the Capitol on the attack's anniversary.
He has done what no president in American history, the history of this country, has ever done. He refused to accept the results of an election and the will of the American people.
Trump will likely reference Biden's words during the January 15th rally. But Spalding says the American people, not politicians, deserve the last word here.
I'm always struck by our national anthem, the words that we sing at ballparks and sport arenas all around the country. That starts with a question and ends with a question. It starts with the question of, is the flag still flying? We saw it through the night, through the battle, but now it's the morning. And the question is, does that flag still wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave? That's how it ends, with a question mark. And all of us must be part of making sure that that answer every day is yes.
So, a year later, which flag is it going to be? Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.
That's all for now. Follow me on Twitter at KGYP, that's KGYP. Connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at VOA News, and stay up to date online at voanews.com. See you next week for the Inside Story.
we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 when they pay.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
I was pushed to the point that I had to start something not numb. And I'm a big risk taker and I enjoy doing things that nobody really does. I wanted something different from every other art form that has been pushed out there. I didn't have that fulfillment in what I was doing and I really wanted to express myself more as an artist, and I decided to resign and go into practicing art full time. I loved subjects that had illustrations or drawings in them. I just kept pushing it and went to the extent of studying art in school, so it's been art all my life for me. I try to conceptualize what I want to create in my head. Even in as much as scattered as it might be, I create it in my head first, then I put it on paper. I sketch, then I try to pick colors, and I proceed to the main piece. A friend of mine told me, like, there's really nothing that could be achieved with graffiti here. The piece behind me is titled Bold Steps. So I'm just trying to put my own, it's an abstract journey of African fashion has come so far. The word there is Ikeakpa. Ikeakpa is a Bini word for movement. So we are it's just a movement, and we have the shoes here which shows the flow and the storm which the movement creates, while working. I'm also 7. I'm an African urban artist and design consultant.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form. Pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
On Plus TV News Now tonight. Independent National Electoral Commission INEC promises to conduct fair governorship election in Ekiti State. As Ethiopia forms body to negotiate with rebellious Tigray forces. And UK presses ahead with plan for forced migrant deportation flight to Rwanda. Good evening to you. I am Justin Kadunyan. You're watching the news now on Plus TV Africa. Now we begin from Imo State, where the governor, Hope Uzodinma, says the choice of picking a running mate for Bola Tinubu lies with the ex-Lagos governor rather than the governors in the ruling All Progressives Congress APC. Uzodinma, who was also the chairman of the APC Special Convention, while briefing reporters after visiting President Muhammad Buhari, said it is the responsibility of the presidential candidate to look at the local characteristics and every factor that will make him win the election.
There is nowhere in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria where religion is a factor or a characteristics as to who becomes the president or who becomes the running mate. But we are looking for a united Nigeria where governance will be the issue, where a president will be adjudged by his capacity to deliver democratic dividends, develop Nigeria to look like other parts of the Western world where democracy is working. I don't want us to reduce governance in Nigeria to certain things that will encourage divisiveness. Rather, we should be a united Nigeria, be our brothers' keepers, have a president of Nigeria that will be a president representing every tribe, every religion, every denomination.
Meantime, the presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, the party's national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and 14 governors have stormed Ekiti State to rally support for the APC candidate in the Saturday's governorship election, Biodun Oyebanji. At the campaign rally, where the party's national secretary, Yola Omishore, ex-Osun State Governor Chief Bisi Akode, members of the APC National Working Committee, members of the National Assembly, and ministers, among other leaders of the party. Addressing the mammoth crowd of APC supporters at the Ekiti Pavilion, the Tinubu, who represented President Muhammad Buhari, said the ruling APC was poised to win the June 18 governorship election.
He said he would keep his promise. He's a man of integrity, honor. He's better than rich. He is going to send to the South the next presidency of Nigeria.
Staying with the Ekiti governorship election, Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, and the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, have assured the electorate that necessary arrangements had been put in place to ensure transparency and security on Saturday's governorship election in the state. While Yakubu reassured people that the decision of who would become the next governor of the state would be that of the electorate through their votes, Baba said necessary security deployment had been made so that people could cast their vote without fear of molestation and that the votes would count. Now, the INEC chairman and the police chief spoke in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital, during the election stakeholders meeting on the governorship election attended by party leaders and candidates of the participating parties, security agencies, and civil society organizations.
Like every conscientious Nigerian, the Commission is deeply worried by the use of money to induce voters on election day. Clearly, vote buying is a threat to our electoral democracy. To discourage the practice, we changed the configuration of our polling units to bring the ballot boxes closer to the voting cubicles and also banned the use of mobile phones and photographic devices by voters while in the voting cubicles. We have also intensified our collaboration with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission, the ICPC, to deal with both buyers and takers under the law. I urge all stakeholders to join the Commission in tackling this menace.
So if we all try to avoid using thoughts, then the security agents should have less to do. But where the politicians employ it as a tactic, either to win or to disrupt, security agents are at liberty to effect arrest and prosecute. The 11/6/2022 ADP Black Ops ceremony, for which the Commissioner of Police is asked to comment. I think in my now that I'm around, let me comment on behalf of the Commissioner of Police and myself, so that the Commissioner of Police have no need to come and talk after I must have spoken. If you have your evidences of what had happened, please pursue your case. It is subject of investigation. If you feel the Commissioner of Police is biased, we can transfer the case to the zonal office or to the headquarters and investigate. And if this officer is found guilty, he will be punished.
One of your officers that was supposed to protect lives and properties of Ekiti State was believed to have connived or instructed to detonate explosive on about a crowd of above 5,000 people intentionally. What is this Inspector General, Commissioner doing about it, and Inspector General of Police saying, oh, you're here? Are we safe? Are the people of Ekiti State safe? Are we supposed to see the police and run away? Are they still our friends as claimed? Are we going to have free, fair election under your watch? What are we expecting from you? And who pays for the damages? And what is the punishment due for your police officer? Have you taken any steps so far?
Staying with election matters ahead of the 2023 elections, a non-governmental organization, Stakeholders Democracy Network, SDN, in collaboration with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Rivers State, has staged a permanent voter card sensitization to encourage meaningful participation of youth and women in the polls. Details in this report.
Nigeria has recorded a sharp decline in voter turnout in the last two general elections, as well as the off-cycle polls conducted in some states over the years. It is a development that many believe has contributed to the country's unimpressive level of development. In the light of this, a group, Stakeholders Democracy Network (SDN), launched a continuous voter registration and permanent voter cards collection campaign in Rivers State. The sensitization campaign is aimed at boosting the level of voters' registration and turnout in the country.
This project is designed to promote more inclusion of women and youth in the political and electoral process in Rivers State and indeed Nigeria. We are implementing this project in 24 communities in Rivers State, spanning across 4 local government areas.
Election day close. Not talk say that next year. Before you go sleep wake up, next year don't reach. And we want to let you know, say it's very important for you to get your voters card. Now I know say some people here, you dey get challenged with your voters card. Sharply, we get some INEC people waiting here with us. They go put us through based on 1 or 2.
The representative of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Ngozi Ujadi, who is the head of voter education and publicity in the state, bemoaned the high number of uncollected PVCs. Ujadi advised residents against double registration and called on eligible voters who are yet to register to come out en masse to perform their civic responsibilities before the close of day.
Come out in mass. As you get your PVC, that be your power where you go take vote. If you have done PVC once in your life, please do not go and recapture again. What you need to do is to call it up. You will come now, we will tell you what. Don't go and register. Registering more than once is double registration. It will not come.
Me, I go advise people who never get say make them go get them, so that all of us go join hands. Pray Almighty God, may God select the right person. We go hear we poor voice.
You know, since 4 years now, I misplaced my PVC, and up to now I've not gotten my PVC. I know where the INEC office. I've been going there. I will see a lot of crowd. There is no way to have PVC.
While urging Nigerian youths to shun thuggery and violence capable of disrupting the electoral process, Ekong reiterated that the PVC campaign is to encourage women, youths, the physically challenged, and eligible voters to participate in the election to transform democracy and governance in the country.
Also from Rivers State, the former lawmaker representing Rivers South-East Senatorial District at the National Assembly, Senator Magnus Abe, has expressed confidence that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu will be elected as the President of Nigeria in 2023. Senator Abe stated this during a thank-you visit to his supporters at Bera in Gokana local government area of the state. Details now.
Ahead of the 2023 elections, Senator Magnus Abe has declared that the APC will mobilize 1 million voters in Rivers State to support the party's presidential candidate, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Senator Abe made the declaration while addressing thousands of APC members and supporters at the Port Harcourt International Airport upon his arrival from Abuja. He called on people of the state to register their support for Project SMA 2023, aimed at allowing the people choose who will be their governor in 2023. Abe made it clear that any person that is not known to Rivers people and is handpicked by one man cannot become the governor of the state.
I'm proud to register. I want to call on all those who have an interest in a different future for our state to proudly come out and register. Let us begin to show that we are serious about what we are doing and that we are committed to what we are doing.
Senator Abe commended two Rivers sons, Rotimi Amechi and Tien Jack Rich, for their gallant participation in the just concluded APC presidential primary in Abuja. He assured the people that the former governor of Lagos State, Tinubu, has the needed criteria to lead the country successfully, stressing that the APC presidential candidate has impacted many lives, which he said have paved the way for him. The factional chairman of APC in the state, Golden Chioma, urged party supporters to get their PVCs in order to choose who will govern them in 2023.
If you look carefully at the All Progressives Congress, if you look at the contributions of all of us, if you look at how the party got here, if you look at the history of Nigeria, you will know that there is no other person, not just in the APC, there is no other person in Nigeria that can do what the Jagaban of Africa can do.
For the 319 wards of Rivers State, everybody is expected to register with his PVC and his phone number so that we can make the governor we want. We can choose the governor we want and elect a governor for ourselves, not a governor to be imposed on us by one man.
Senator Abe advised the people that the battle is now over and a candidate has emerged.
Away from Rivers State now, as the preparations for the 2023 general elections gradually climaxes, Nigerians have continued to express their worries over the state of insecurity in the country. A chieftain of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) Lagos State chapter, Olabode George, while addressing a World Press Conference on the state of the nation, says Nigerians want to be reassured of what is going on. Plus TV correspondent Love Ikogoyedoko now reports.
It was another moment for the party chieftain to touch on some salient issues bedeviling the nation. From heightened state of insecurity, kidnappings and killings to unemployment, Bodejo, just like most Nigerians, is not pleased. He believes it's no longer safe to be quiet.
How can we have degenerated to the level where the house of the Almighty God will be desecrated, to shed the blood? And he told us in the Holy Book, don't shed the blood that he created, because that land will be a reject forever.
It's unfortunate because they are picking students, they are picking young ones, they are picking wives of people all across the Southwest. And I know that if we have good governance at the top, if we have good governance, I want to repeat, at the top, something like this would have been arrested.
The worries of the party chieftain are also on the 2023 general elections, as he is concerned about the characters of some presidential candidates put forward as flag bearers of some parties.
You said you have a CPA. That's the equivalent of ACCA. The British will call accountants, ACCA, but American CPA. You say you have CPA. Today you tell them you are a guru in economic whatever. Your character, your age. You have a daughter who is 61. You say you are 70. So did you start procreating at the age of 9?
The former deputy national chairman of the PDP had earlier taken a swipe at the amalgamation of Nigeria by the British and also frowned at the Nigerian constitution. He charged youths to secure their future by participating fully in the forthcoming elections.
You hear stories, PVCs they're not giving them their PVCs, they're not giving them their voters card, they're not giving them all kinds of stories. Are they genuine stories? The youths must not sit back now. They must get, because that is the only power they have to have an impact on their future.
While acknowledging God's unfailing love for the nation, Bode George urged all Nigerians, irrespective of tribe, religion, or creed, to continue to pray for the well-being of Nigeria. From Lagos, Love Ikuku Oyeduku, Plus TV News.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, has expressed displeasure over the outcome of the primaries conducted, which, according to him, led to massive losses by some members of the legislature. Now, Gbajabiamila, who stated this at the resumption of the plenary, said that the outcome of the process shows a complete disregard for the nation's democratic process, but promised that the legislative arm will continue to fight for democracy and the institution.
I know and I am aware that many of our members did not lose their primaries because they were rejected by their constituents. No, far from it. Many of our members lost because of the process which we foresaw in the House of Representatives. The delegate system, which unfortunately is not what a delegate system is supposed to be. Many of our members lost because they were not even given a fair shake or a fair shot. We have good legislators, both here in chambers and back home, who are probably not coming back because of this same process. When we fought for direct primaries in this House, we knew exactly what we were saying. And it is that fight and the kick and the pushback by many who knew or felt they knew what they wanted to do, that has now become the bane of the institution of the legislature.
The Speaker said he will invoke Order 18-3G to commit the bills to the committee and also promised to take advantage of the ongoing constitutional amendment process by the Committee on Constitutional Review to look into critical areas for an amendment like the gender neutrality or empowerment bill and come to a consensus.
I have long believed that legislative control of the public purse is one of the most important and consequential responsibilities. Since we resumed office, we have been responsible for passing 3 appropriation acts, with trillions of naira in public expenditure included therein. In this our final year in office, it should be a matter of the highest priority for us to thoroughly review the implementation of those appropriation acts across the ministries, departments, and agencies of the federal government of Nigeria. I urge the chairmen and members of the oversight committees of the House to begin now to undertake this review and to prepare reports that will be considered by the House and form part of the legacy of this 9th Assembly.
Now, the senator representing Kebbi North, Yahaya Abdullahi, has defected to the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and has in turn resigned from his position as the Senate Majority Leader. This was contained in a letter addressed to the Senate President Ahmad Lawan and read on the floor during plenary. The defection of the APC senators brings the total number of PDP senators to 39 from the previous 38, with the exclusion of Abaribe, who is set to formally defect from the opposition party to APGA on Wednesday. Now, the head of the family of the late Moshood Kashimawo Abiola in Abeokuta, Ogun State, Muritala Abiola, has called on those aspiring to become the president of the country in 2023 to get a copy of the 1993 manifesto of the presumed winner of the 1993 presidential election in Nigeria. Abiola, who stated these after the special prayer held at the family house located in Abeokuta, noted that the manifesto contains different social welfare programs for the poor, young and old in the society. He said the document will help the masses and also promotes unity in the country.
I wanted out my home. I'm an old man. We are traveling overseas. If I leave Nigeria this night, if I reach America this night, they will carry me to old people's home. They will take care of me medically, food, everything. Even if I die, if they don't clean my corpse, they will do everything. All these programs are supposed to be here. But we are all traveling to overseas and we are seeing this. Then we come back home, we don't do anything. In their pocket. The money will finish. He who is keeping the money will finish. That is what these people do think of.
On this day, we will remember him as a person. We will send our prayers to him. And we'll also remember what he stood for and what he promised us Nigerians. And look forward in hope that the one Nigeria that he strove for, that we all voted for him right across the country, east, west, north, central, all parts of the country came out in their huge numbers and supported him, and that we continue to work towards his goals so that he would not have labored in vain, but that we will continue to have a strong, united Nigeria where we are not divided by our ethnicity, our religions, or anything, but we are completely focused on making our country great.
A UK court has ruled against Nigeria in the $1.7 billion suit against JP Morgan Chase Bank over the transfer process from the sale of OPL 245. Judge Sarah Cockerill of the Business and Property Court of England and Wales Commercial Court held that the Nigerian government could not show that it had been defrauded. The federal government had sued JP Morgan, alleging that the bank ought to have known that there was corruption and fraud in the transaction which saw Malibu sell its 100% in OPL 245 to Shell and ENI for $1.4 billion. In Bayelsa, now stakeholders have asked the federal government to take proactive steps towards ending corruption and epileptic power supply in the country. It is believed that with these in place, there would be robust private sector development. Our correspondent Jesse S.A. reports that the stakeholders also harped on a good road network and a better business environment.
Privatization involves the transfer of a business, industry, service or means of production from public to private control. The reason for this is the shared belief that privately run businesses are subject to the discipline of market forces and therefore more efficient. However, efforts by successive administrations in privatization are yet to yield the expected result. Stakeholders believe it is time for the federal government to take the backseat and create the enabling environment for full-scale industrialization and privatization, starting with the provision of constant power.
Government has a basic responsibility to create a conducive environment for businesses to strive, for investors to come and invest, like good roads, power, good laws. You can see all the refineries in this country. Which of them is working? They will tell you, so amount has been budgeted, they are doing this, we are doing that. Turnaround maintenance every year, you millions of dollars and all that. What is coming out of it? In the private sector, of course, is business. You know what it means for you to have a business to manage it. The place of efficiency is number one. And government will benefit more. The taxes that will be coming into government to accrue into the IGR of government.
The lack of due process is blamed for the slow result in privatization.
Because most of these things that have been privatized to the Nigerian government, the Nigerian officials by themselves. Why not look out for private companies, private individuals, captains of industries to say, please, we are privatizing this thing. The same thing with the power sector. If they had privatized this power sector to individuals, I mean not the politicians of Nigeria, but other persons who have the capacity and the resources to run these private sectors, I think Nigeria will be a win-win. But look at it now.
With another general election approaching, citizens are asked to look critically and elect the right leaders who can fix Nigeria's economic problems. Jesse S.A. Plus TV News.
A federal high court in Abuja has convicted and sentenced 2 co-defendants in a suit filed by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, against Abba Kyari over an alleged drug deal to 2 years imprisonment. Justice Onwite thereafter sentenced them to 2 years imprisonment on each of count 5, 6, and 7. He said the terms, which shall run concurrently, would commence from the day the defendants were arrested by the NDLEA. A non-governmental organization, CDOGS, has stated that there is a need for the reintegration of drug abusers into the society. Chairman of the association, Ikenna Ohebola, made the call in Owerri, the Imo State capital, during a one-day workshop on drug abuse identification and rehabilitation. He stated that mental health should be prioritized so as to find ways of bringing those involved back to their senses, and also identified a decline in the family value system, poverty and unemployment as some of the causes of drug abuse in the society.
Message is stay away from drugs. Do not abuse drugs. However, if you end up finding yourself in a scenario where you need help, do not hesitate to reach out. That is the message. We can save everybody. We can help everybody. We can try to save everybody, though I know it may not be attainable, but we can actually make an effort to help integrate such people back into the society. Everybody has a role to play. Well, I was trying to make sure this doesn't go political, but the key thing is the message remains the same. Don't do drugs. Stay away from drugs. And if you manage, like I said, if you find yourself at the wrong end, there should be a window to help you find your way back.
Enabler, don't send your children to buy drugs for you, because you would have become an enabler. You would have assisted them to start using drugs. Don't take drugs in the presence of your children, because whatever they see their father do, that is what they will do.
But I will advise anyone out there who is abusing substance or intends to start abusing substance as a means to solving problems that there is no benefit attached to it. You end up losing your money, you end up losing your mental state of health, even your physical well-being is totally affected. So there is no gain indulging in, you gain nothing indulging in abusing substance.
The gunmen suspected to be sea pirates have attacked a speedboat conveying 15 passengers and abducted 8 of them in Bayelsa State. It was gathered that a combined rescue team of the Marine Police, community leaders and concerned persons rescued 7 of the 15 passengers who were abandoned by the armed pirate. Now, the Police Public Relations Officer, Bayelsa State Command, Arsene Botswat, as Superintendent of Police, confirmed the kidnap, but said 7 persons were abducted. Now, the chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum and the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, has warned that the people of the Southwest will not allow any unprovoked attack on the area under any pretext. The governor stated this while receiving his brother governors from Ogun, Dapo Abiodun, Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and Kwara, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, at the government house in Akure, the state capital. While condemning the Owo incident as one too many, Akeredolu pointed out that the people of the Southwest have always worked to protect the country's peace and unity. Now, the Lagos State government has held a stakeholders meeting to intimate the residents and members of the public on the planned demolition and reclamation of the collapsed Ikoyi building, formerly owned by the late Femi Oshibono, who was also a victim of the tragedy that occurred in November last year. The representatives of the government were led by the Commissioner for Special Duties and Intergovernmental Relations, Engineer Tayo Martins, and the Commissioners for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Dr. Idris Salako. Our correspondent Paul George reports.
Gathered here in this hall for the stakeholders meeting on the planned demolition and reclamation of the building site at 42 Girard Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, are engineers, stakeholders, some members of the public, and the media. Engineer Martins started by assuring the residents of their safety during the course of the demolition of the remaining 3 uncompleted buildings at the site, revealing that the state government has approved the demolition of the buildings.
The import of the stakeholders meeting is to give the residents and also the occupants within the proximity of the collapsed building site, to give them some level of confidence, comfort, psychologically and emotionally, to the effect that we are going to demolish the remaining structures, but it will be done in a safe manner. There wasn't a general consensus, which was that they seem to agree with us that it is safe. And we can't do anything else without engaging them first.
The Commissioner of Physical and Urban Development, Dr. Salako, who spoke alongside Dr. Oluwafemi Oke Osointulu, noted the concerns of the residents and reassured them that the demolition will be carried out professionally.
The concerns that were raised especially by the residents, are genuine, and we have a short press conference on the site on Thursday, and the site will be officially handed over to the consultant. We kept talking to developers and to build right, use the right professionals in their construction works, use the right materials, to get the approvals, and let's allow LAPCA to grant authorization and do all the state certification.
We are going to ensure safety of life and properties. All the key stakeholders that are important in managing emergency in Lagos State, Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, have taken clear ownership of it. And believe me, we will do our best.
On his part, the Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Victoria Island Branch, Engineer Christian Okori, enjoined the state government to always carry the people along in order to rebuild confidence in them.
The Lagos State government has taken the right step, by having a forum like this. And most importantly, the fact that this kind of incidences have been endemic in Lagos State, particularly the island of Lagos. And probably this is not going to be the last, very likely. Carry people along so that people will know long into your program, into your activity, what exactly is happening. They can be carried along to the level of their expertise, to the level of your knowledge. We are not saying come and bring in-depth technical structural engineering jargon to the general public. No.
The residents who are already apprehensive are earnestly waiting to see whether or not the state government would keep to its words. Paul George, Plus TV News.
The Nigerian Red Cross Society has raised an alarm that a good number of people in the northwest and north-central regions of the country are in dire situation without knowing where their next meal will come from. The Secretary General of the Red Cross Society, Abubakar Kende, was quoted in a statement issued by Chima Nwankwo and Aduratsomi Bolade of the Nigerian Red Cross Society and the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, respectively, to have said that the situation is critical and needs immediate attention. He said that millions are being affected, particularly women, the elderly and vulnerable children, and that more support is still required as the funding gap is still huge vis-a-vis the needs. Meantime, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has revealed that Nigeria has recorded 15 new confirmed cases of monkeypox. A recent report by the NCDC revealed that the May 30th to June the 5th and June the 6th to June the 12th, the country reported 11 and 4 cases of the disease, respectively. Here, in the week under review, between May the 30th to June the 12th, the country recorded 15 cases. The Nigerians expressed mixed feelings as they look forward to the candidate who would become the country's president in 2023. And that's on Street Views.
We should vote wisely so that things will be better, because masses are suffering now. In our own perspective, we see future, but in the hands of our leader, they can manipulate it.
I foresee future because if we can vote the right person, I think Nigeria will be great. We have the ruling party, and it will be a difficult to be for junior party to overcome the ruling party. It will be very difficult. For my own opinion, I think I prefer Peter Obi.
The government used poverty to control the masses. Because when there is poverty, somebody that don't have 1 square meal to eat in a day, and a politician comes and gives him money to vote for him, the followers don't have any other option than to vote for him. Nigeria has no future. We have no future for the instance that those that we are clamoring to become our leader, our president of today, are all of the same feathers.
Well, what I know is that I must vote. Whether they count it or not, whether anything they like, they do, but I will believe that God Almighty that we are serving will give us a good leader in Nigeria. That is my belief.
If they can follow the word, or if you can consider the people that they are following them, if they can pity them, but because most of what they are saying, they are different people. But if they can change with what they are saying and they can follow what they are saying, we have a future bright in Nigeria. Now, I don't prefer anybody, but only God can choose for Nigeria, so that it's going to deliver us in 2003.
Nigeria is already dead, but I don't know about our good leader that is coming, whether good or bad. They'll be saying things, all those promises about us every day, and the country is getting more worse. But we pray, and the future will take care of itself if anyone believe. Oh, they are no good, but we will still give them a chance, because there's no youth to step up for the future. For me now, it's at school, because it's chop by chop, because he's a good man, even though he's a Muslim, he still care for the Christian.
Many youth today, they chase the money, they believe in present, they will never think of the future. Say Tinubu, because I believe he must have done a lot for the country in the past, but we can't judge the past with the present. But we can still give our try and see what he's gonna do for the next election.
Still ahead on News Now, Rwanda says it is ready to welcome thousands in UK migrant deal. Details when we return to join us again.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Welcome back to News Now. The Rwandan government has doubled down on its defense of a controversial deal to take in asylum seekers being expelled from Britain, saying it was ready to welcome thousands of migrants. Government spokeswoman Yolande Makolo described the agreement, which has been opposed by the UN and right groups, as an innovative program.
The primary objective is to, quote, fully integrate them in Rwandan society. It is not to send them off to other countries. However, we recognize that people have freedom of movement, and should they wish to move to a third country where they would have legal residence, we will facilitate that movement. However, the Rwandan government will not be involved in the application to that third country, but we will facilitate access to that third country once legal residence is established.
Now, the Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, says the organization will convene an emergency committee next week to assess whether the monkeypox outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern. That is the highest level of warning issued by the UN agency, which currently applies only to the COVID-19 pandemic and polio. There have been 1,600 confirmed and 1,500 suspected cases of monkeypox this year and 72 deaths, according to the WHO, in 39 countries, including the countries where the virus usually spreads.
I think it's now clear that there is unusual situation, meaning even the virus is behaving unusually from how it used to behave in the past. But not only that, it's also affecting more and more countries. And we believe that it needs also some coordinated response because of the geographic spread.
All working in our domain with a network of experts, we need to make sure that we come together and provide to the world in a non-regular manner a rapid way of controlling the situation. We believe that with advice from the emergency committee, we can be in a better position to control the situation, but it does not mean that we are going straight to a public health emergency of international concern. We don't want to wait until the situation is out of control to start calling the emergency committee. I think this is the reason why the Director General, his prerogative is calling the emergency committee.
Up next in news now, Kaduna, Rivers, 30 others attract zero foreign direct investment in the fourth quarter of this year. And that's in business news after the short break. Stay with us.
The federal government says it has licensed 164 vessels to operate on the territorial waters and exclusive economic zone. Ime Humo, the Director of Fisheries Department in the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, made this known at an event in Abuja. Humo said this was one of the achievements recorded by the department in its activities, saying local production had been boosted. According to Humo, Nigerian fish industry can only produce 1.2 million metric tons of fish from industrial, artisanal, and agricultural subsectors. 32 states in Nigeria, including Rivers and Kaduna, did not attract any foreign investments in the first quarter of 2022. A report by the National Bureau of Statistics shows that only Lagos, Oyo, Katsina, Anambra State, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, attracted investment during the period. According to the NBS, Nigerian capital importation, the total value of capital imported into Nigeria in the first quarter of 2022 stood at $1.6 billion from the $2.2 billion in the preceding quarter, showing a decrease of 28.09%. When compared to the corresponding quarter of 2021, capital importation decreased by 17.46% from $1.9 billion. And latest updates on the evacuation of petrol by the NNPC Limited show that the oil firm evacuated 1.523 billion liters of PMS between May 16 and June the 5th in a bid to keep the country wet with fuel. However, the huge supply volume has not completely eradicated the queues formed by motorists daily in the filling stations in Abuja and environs, while many other outlets still do not dispense petrol due to lack of products. Also, the presence of PMS black markets on major roads in Abuja has remained the normal sight for weeks as they hustle to meet the fuel supply needs of motorists by higher prices than the regulated rate. Figures obtained from NNPC on Monday showed that between May the 16th to 29, the oil firm recorded an average national evacuation of 69.04 million liters. This implies that NNPC evacuated about 966.56 million liters during the two-week period. The International Air Transport Association, IATA, has declared that international air travel is experiencing a rebound, with passenger traffic for African carriers experiencing an increase of 116.2% in April this year compared to load factor posted a year ago. According to IATA, figures posted by African carriers translated to over 93.3% recorded in March this year. Data from the Global Airlines body indicates that the April figures were up by 65.7%, with load factor climbing 15.7 percentage points to 67.3%. IATA also indicated that as the northern summer travel season beckons, two things are clear. 2 years of border restrictions have not weakened the desire for the freedom to travel. It stated where travel is permitted, demand rapidly is returning to pre-COVID levels. And that's the business news. I am Adedolakwa Ajayi.
Thank you, Dolakbo. Away from business reports, up next is entertainment news.
A man once married to singer Britney Spears for 55 hours has been charged with felony stalking after showing up unannounced during a wedding to Sam Asghari. Jason Alexander, 40, pleaded not guilty to the charge, as well as to trespassing, battery, and vandalism. A judge set bail at $100,000 and issued a restraining order requiring Mr. Alexander to stay at least 100 yards from Spears for 3 years. He attended the hearing virtually. He was arrested last week after allegedly gate crashing and streaming a video from inside Spears' home. Sir Mick Jagger has tested positive for COVID-19, promoting the Rolling Stones to cancel a performance in Amsterdam. The band said the show would be rescheduled and they were deeply sorry. Sir Mick, 78, added in a message to fans, "Thank you for your patience and understanding." The band are currently on their 60th tour, where they had planned to play 14 shows in 10 European countries. The Kardashian family are demanding that model Blac Chyna covers the cost of her lawsuit filed against them. Kardashian lawyer filed new paperwork laying out their financial burden for the trial, and it is just over $390. This, however, does not include their attorney fees. The Kardashians' legal team insists that the family spent more than $391 in total throughout the years-long proceedings. The court will, however, still need to sign off on the final amount. Recall that the trial judge who ruled in favor of the Kardashians in the defamation filed against them by Blac Chyna. Queen Elizabeth is the world's second longest reigning modern monarch. The 96-year-old British monarch, who recently celebrated her Platinum Jubilee, has taken over King of Thailand, who ruled for 70 years and 126 days between 1927 and 2016. However, the Queen, who is the longest-serving British monarch, remains some way behind Lucius of France, who reigned for 72 years and 110 days. The Queen has battled mobility issues in recent months, which forced her to miss a number of events during her Platinum Jubilee celebrations.
And away from entertainment news, the very best in sports is up next.
Hello and welcome to Sports News on Plus TV Africa. Phil Mickelson said he hoped to create new memories with the PGA Tour after the U.S. Golf Circuit suspended him for joining the Saudi-backed Live Golf Invitational Series amid a continuing outcry ahead of this week's U.S. Open. The PGA Tour last week suspended Mickelson and other members who joined Live Golf, with Commissioner Jay Monahan saying they had decided to turn their backs on the tour. Mickelson, who has finished runner-up 6 times at the U.S. Open and will get another shot at completing the career Grand Slam on his 30th attempt at the Century Club in Brookline, said he respected those who have strong opinions. Mickelson was a longtime fan favorite, but faced a barrage of disapproval after remarks were made public earlier this year in which he criticized the Saudi government for its horrible human rights record, but said he would use the prospect of Live Golf to gain economic leverage over the PGA Tour. Mickelson apologized for his remarks and announced in February that he was taking time away from the game, opting out of the Masters and his title defense at the PGA Championship.
Many of you have many people have strong opinions, emotions about my choice to go forward with Live Golf, and I understand and I respect that. I'm incredibly grateful for the PGA Tour and for the many opportunities that it has provided me through the years. But I am excited about this new opportunity as well. I would say to everyone that has lost loved ones, lost friends in 9/11, that I have deep, deep empathy for them. I can't emphasize that enough. I have the deepest of sympathy and empathy for them. In regards to if fans would leave or whatnot, I respect and I understand their opinions, and I understand that they have strong feelings and strong emotions regarding this choice, and I certainly respect them.
Serena Williams has received a wild card to take part in the ladies' singles competition at Wimbledon later this month, tournament organizers said on Tuesday. Williams, 40, has not played on the tour since a first-round exit at Wimbledon last year due to an injury. She is a 7-time winner at the All England Lawn Tennis Club. The American, now ranked 1,208th in the world, carries a record 7 times career win. Andrew Wiggins delivered at both ends of the court as the Golden State Warriors beat the Boston Celtics 104-94 on Monday to take a 3-2 lead in the NBA Finals. The forward had 26 points and 13 rebounds at the Chase Center, with Klay Thompson adding 21 points as the Warriors moved just one win away from the championship. It was a quieter night for Steph Curry, who followed up his 43-point performance with just 16 points and converted none of his 9 3-point attempts. The 6th game in the series takes place on Thursday at the TD Garden.
Curry going coast to coast, lays it up and in. Right now, we're going to have to take a look at that. Oh, what a fake from Draymond Green. You got to roll with it, and that's what the coach says. He's off to a strong start. Thompson knocks down a lock at 3. Brown puts up the 3. Off the mark, rebound Wiggins. Got 3 seconds to get a shot off. Wiggins to Poole. Poole gets it off in time. Oh, he banks it in! He banks it in! They count it as the buzzer sound. Wiggins across the lane, floats it up and in. Wiggins drives and finishes. Exclamation point from Andrew Wiggins.
And that's all the sports news we have for you for now. Join us next time. My name is Mikhail Tinubu. Have a good night.
And sports news wraps it for us on the news now. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channels at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching.
Okay, welcome back to the program. Remember, you can join us on you can join the program by calling in on 0909-8408-408 to share your opinions on trending discussions. Okay, now I have someone with me in the studio, and he is the one and only Sugar. How are you doing,
Hey,
Sugar?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm chill.
Great.
How was your night? Good?
Yeah, my night was great. I just realized I waste roughly 8 hours of my life in traffic every day here in Lagos, so, which is very bad.
You know, the thing about today is, yesterday was public holiday, yeah? But today being Tuesday, and
So
yesterday,
it feels
it's
like everybody just wants to go get
like
the money,
today's
right?
another Monday.